So we are reviewing options which could include something like that, but I have nothing to definitively to say yet about what option we're going to take. But let me just take the question as an opportunity to say, for anyone whose ballot is in transit right now, they sent it yesterday, they sent it the day before, they sent it the day before that, and they have every reason to believe it's floating out there in the mail somewhere. Use the ballot tracker on our website, mnvotes.org/track, or just mnvotes.org and find the ballot tracker. And you'll have the peace of mind of knowing when it arrived and what day it arrived. But if, as Tuesday approaches, you don't see it having arrived and been counted and accepted, if you don't see it, you are perfectly fine to override that vote by showing up in person, either today until 5 p.m., tomorrow at least between the hours of 10 and 3 on a Saturday if you're county or city, Monday all day during business hours, or you're free to override that same in-transit ballot on Tuesday, on election day, in your polling place. So I want to repeat for those.
All right, folks, we are now going out live to Michigan. President Trump about to start his rally up there. One of three that we will be featuring today from President Trump. And then, of course, we will have Joe Biden also in Iowa. They should be going on really at the same time. We'll have Joe Biden on the back end of this one. But this is one of three from President Trump in the closing days as we get you going here on News Now from Fox. And we'll show this one to you in its entirety there. You could see it's about a 38 degrees right outside of Detroit there, and they know about much colder temps than that right there, as President Trump fans have been waiting hours for this moment. Well, let's listen in as he gets closer to the podium here, as we are now just days away from election 2020.
There ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Oh, what a crowd. This is some crowd. Wow. This is a big crowd. Well, thank you very much. This is a great crowd. We have a lot of great crowds. There's something happening. You're going to see that on the 3rd, although the Supreme Court would probably like to delay it for a long time, it looks like. But we're going to have a tremendous victory. It's going to be a victory like none other. It's the most important election of our lives. Hello, Michigan. How are you doing, Michigan? How are you doing? It's cold, but I feel very warm in this group. This is a great group. 4 days from now, we are going to win this state, and we are going to win 4 more great years in the White House. We're going to have it. We're going to have it. Unless there's something that we don't see. You know, I'm watching these Biden rallies. It's like there's nobody. Of course, he says that they want to do it that way on purpose. You know, the problem is nobody shows up. They were putting on the screen our rally. That's you. You're all famous, very famous. And his rally, there was nobody. At least he's doing a rally. He got out of the basement, so that's good. With your support, we will continue to bring back your jobs, cut your taxes, cut your regulations, support our great police, support our military, defend our borders, protect the Second Amendment, which is under siege. Protect always religious liberty and ensure more products are proudly stamped with the wonderful phrase, you know what it is? Made in the USA, and that's happening more and more. Thanks to our historic campaign to slash red tape and mobilize industry, we will deliver a safe vaccine to the American people in just a number of weeks, a couple of weeks. It's happening very fast. Great companies, the greatest companies of their kind in the world. And we got plenty of them there, too. Seniors will be first. We make seniors first, right? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. They say, will you be the first one to take it? You know, it's a no-win situation. If I say yes, they'll say, he demanded to be first. If I say no, they'll say, he had no courage. Now, we're going to take care of our seniors first. We're going to take care of our doctors and frontline workers, everybody. But it's really, and by the way, you know, without it, we're still rounding the corner. We have it. But without it, we round the corner. And it will be available free. We're doing the vaccine free. And the reason is that this wasn't your fault. This wasn't anyone's fault. This was China's fault. Just remember it. Our vaccine will eradicate the virus much more quickly and end the pandemic quickly, because we want to have our life restored just to normal. That's all we want. That's all we want, normal. We just want normal. Bring us back 7 months. That's what we want, right? And that's what the whole world wants. Look what's happening in Europe. It's terrible. It's terrible what China has done to this world. And just remember it. Just remember it. And next year will be the greatest economic year in the history of our country. You see what's happening. 33.1%. Nobody can blame it. They can't believe it. They don't like talking about it. You know, they don't like talking about it. You have a new thing going. It's called... Thank you. Thank you. You hear that, Ben Carson? You hear that, Ben? I'll tell you. Nobody's ever heard that before politically. Maybe for Ben Carson. I don't know. Maybe. I love Ben Carson. Thank you, Ben and Candy. Thank you. Thank you, Candy. Joe Biden is promising a long, dark, painful winter. Did you see him at the debate? Did anybody see the debate by any chance? No, he said long, dark winter. Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. That's just what our country needs, is a long, dark winter and a leader that talks about it. You know, I didn't have the privilege of going to my basement in the White House. I didn't have the privilege of going to a beautiful room on the second or third floor and staying there for a year and a half because I'm president of the United States. So I didn't have that. I had to do my job. And I said, you know, I could catch this thing, and if I do, I do, and I'm going to get better fast. I didn't know I was going to get better that fast. That was pretty good. I was like in and out, and, you know, I had a dose. I wasn't feeling great, but I got better. And it used to be that say you have lifetime immunity, right? You're immune. Now it's different. Because it's me, they say I'm good for 4 months, okay? They brought it down from lifetime to 4 months, but that's okay, I'll take it. But you know what? You have to do your job. You have to get back. You have to open up your states, right? You have to open up your states. We got to get our governor to open up our state here, don't we? You know? Oh, don't worry. On November 4th, they'll announce all these states, all these Democrat-run states will be open. Not me. Not me. Not me, see? They blame me every time that happens. Every time I mention her name, crooked Hillary's name, Joe Biden's name, frankly. And where's Hunter? Where's Hunter? There's Hunter right there. He's out by the truck. He's looking to make a couple of bucks, Hunter. Hunter's done very well for an unemployed person, right, for years. For years unemployed, and then he hit pay dirt. His father became vice president. And Joe hit pay dirt too. That's part of the problem. I'm delivering the great American comeback. That's what we're doing. We built the greatest economy in the history of the world. Best unemployment numbers, best everything. We had 160 million people employed. We were never even close to that number. And then one day, we saved 2 million lives. We had to close it up. How about that decision? How horrible to have to make it. We understood the disease. We learned the disease. We have to protect our seniors, especially if they have problems with the heart or diabetes. We opened it up, and now we're at a level. I used to talk about the V. This is a super V. This is the biggest number, 33.1, and the news doesn't want to talk about it because it's positive. They only want to talk about negative when it comes to us. But 33.1, the biggest number in our country's history by like double, but it's much more than double. And you'd have to go back to 1952 to get anywhere close. But close, you know what close is? About a 17-point spread. This election is a matter of economic survival for Michigan because Joe Biden, look at what they did during their 8 years. And you know, I said during the debate, 91-9, 91. You know what that means? That was a poll. How did Trump do in the debate? 91% for Trump. Nine sisters. Look at these beautiful sisters, huh? They like Trump, but I like them. They even have a Trump flag. Look at that Trump flag. That's beautiful. It's so beautiful. And you know, we're working very hard with Little Sisters of the Poor, right? You know about that. Your friends. That's great. That's great. It's great to have you. Thank you very much. Joe Biden is going to lock down your state, wipe out your factories, ship out your jobs, bring things to China, whatever they can, punish your family with $1 trillion. Think of this. $1 trillion times $4 trillion tax hike. We gave you the biggest tax reduction in the history of our country. That's the good news. The bad news is he wants to give you the biggest tax hike in the history of our country. He wants to eliminate private health care. We have 180 million people have private health care. They've fought for it all their lives. They have great, great health care. He wants to end it, and it's not going to happen. We're not going to let it happen and send your state into a very deep recession. But see, I think it's worse. I think it's depression. I just hate to use the D word. Let me just tell you something. How good have I done in bringing car companies here to Michigan? You went 42 years without a car plant. You were losing all your plants. 12 years ago, I was named Man of the Year of Michigan. Can you believe it? Long before I thought about it. And I got up and I made a speech. I said, you're losing all your car business. Somebody gave me a list. You lost 32% of your car business to Mexico and other places. And now we're bringing it all back. You have many, many factories now under construction, expansions of existing. You haven't had that ever. And then Biden, and remember this, I only ran because of Biden and Obama. If they did a good job, I wouldn't have run. And I guess I wouldn't have won either, but I wouldn't have run. They did a lousy job. I watch them now. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Why the hell didn't he do it? Why didn't he do it? Sleepy Joe, and that was when he was a little bit better, a little bit more awake. He's going to do what he hasn't done in 47 years. I'm going to do. That was so easy, that debate, because it hit me. I am going to do this, and I just kept saying, Joe, why didn't you do it? You know. And it was 3.5 years ago. It wasn't like a long time. It was 3.5 years ago. Biden has vowed to abolish the entire U.S. energy industry, right? No fracking. Guy went for 1.5 years. No fracking, no fracking, no fracking. Then he goes to Pennsylvania. Of course we're going to frack. And the press, the fake news never asks about it. No energy. And you're going to have gas prices. This is not great for selling your beautiful cars. Gas prices of $6 and $7. Right now, it's nice to be under $2, isn't it? You never thought you'd see that. You never thought you'd see that. Biden's running mate America's most liberal senator. She makes Bernie look like a conservative. Crazy Bernie is like a conservative compared to her. She even Kamala. You have to pronounce it exactly right, otherwise she gets very upset, even though she can't pronounce it right. You saw that the other day. I think that was on the great Laura Ingraham show. Actually, I watched that. And I do believe Laura Ingraham is here someplace. Where is Laura? Where is she? Where is Laura? I can't recognize you. Is that a mask? No way. Are you wearing a mask? I've never seen her in a mask. Look at you. Whoa, she's being very politically correct. Whoa. Whoa, I've never seen. Laura Ingraham, she's fantastic. Thank you, Laura. Ah, yes, I've never seen that before. But even sponsored the ruinous Green New Deal. How about that? Knowing nothing about the environment. It'll cost $100 trillion. You know what $100 trillion? Let me put it this way. You could take all the countries in the world. They can't afford it. While I'm president, America will proudly remain energy independent. You know, we're independent now. We don't need to be going all over the world. We don't need to be going all over the world. Biden will eradicate the economy. I will eradicate the virus and make the economy better than it's ever been. That's where we were. Now we're doing it again. And let's face it, he's shot. Do you agree with that? I can say. I'm not a fan of his, never was. He was never known as the smart one in the Senate. He was a touchy-feely guy, little personality, he had a good personality. Now the personality's gone and a lot of other things are gone. He'll deliver poverty, misery, depression. I will deliver jobs, 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 good ones too. Yesterday it was announced that last quarter, when our economy, when this was announced, it was a tremendous announcement. The problem with it was that we didn't get the kind of coverage that we should have. So in the history, think of it, in the history of our country, GDP went up to 33.1, right? In the history, and it was hardly mentioned. It's amazing. And a friend of mine, very smart, said to me, oh, they won't talk about it. It's never been done before, right? They won't talk about it because they don't want you to win. Because they're sick and they're corrupt. They don't want you to win. In the last 5 months, we've created a record 11.4 million jobs, the most jobs in this short period of time ever created. And we also built the greatest economy in history, and now we're doing it again. See all those hats? Make America great again, again. Make America great again, again. But if Biden wins, the recovery will end and a long economic nightmare, just like he said on the debate. We're gonna have a dark winter. That was really depressing. It was even depressing, even though he did so badly in the debate, I was depressed because I said, it's such a depressing thing he said. I like the last statement though best, right? Wasn't that the best? We said, that means you don't want oil. Yes, we are going to get off oil. I said, this is like, I felt like Perry Mason. It's always that last question. It's always the last question. And they go, yes, I'm guilty, I'm guilty. And then they end the show and they go to a commercial. I said, this is the biggest thing that happened tonight. And even Kristen Welker, who I thought did a fair job, okay? I really did. I thought she did. A lot of people thought she was much tougher than me, but that we expect, okay? But I mean, and she looked at him, she goes, because she's on his side, not his side, she's on the Democrat radical left side, but she still did a relatively fair job. She said, why did you say that? It's like, why? Like, why the hell did you say that? What the hell is wrong? I'm protecting you all night, and now you end the debate. Can we keep it going for another 20 minutes? No, I didn't want to do that. Joe Biden spent the last 47 years outsourcing your jobs, opening your borders. He wants open borders. You don't have borders. You don't have a country. And sacrificing American blood and treasure in endless foreign wars. We're bringing them all back home, many of them home. Very, very few left. We're bringing them home. Got to fight the military-industrial complex. Eisenhower would talk about it all the time. The military-industrial complex. They don't like them coming home, but they've been brought home. And Afghanistan, 19 years, I think, is long enough, but we're serving as policemen, right? Got the greatest soldiers in the world. We're serving as policemen. No, they have to have their own policemen. We have our own policemen. They're the greatest people we have, right? The greatest. He's a diehard globalist who cares nothing for the working people. He's never cared for the working people. China's been ripping you off for years. Now you know why. He gets paid by China. He repeatedly tried to cut Medicare and Social Security over the years. Biden was a cheerleader for NAFTA, sending your auto jobs all over the place, but in particular to Mexico. Mexico's a big auto monster right now. USMCA, we did such a good job on that one. He voted for China's entry into the World Trade Organization, one of the worst things that ever happened to our country. The best thing that ever happened to China. They were flatlined, and then they joined, and they went like a rocket ship. Thank you very much, Joe. Great job you did, Joe. Gutting your industries to finance China's rise. You see it, all the empty, they still have empty buildings around from your state in particular. Half of all of Michigan auto manufacturing jobs were eliminated. Think of it. You lost 50% of your jobs because of these guys. It's him and his group. And then he says, oh, we're going to do this. He'll come and say, oh, yes, we did this. He did nothing. He destroyed your industry, but I brought it back, and you were doing great. And now, amazingly, and I still haven't figured this one, auto production's much higher than it was before the pandemic. Could somebody in the auto business please explain that one to me? Because I'm taking full credit for it. But even I don't get that one. I think you're at 130%. You're at 130%. Look at that sea of people. I hope they can hear me over there. And housing starts and housing sales. I mean, it's incredible. But the auto, it's like at a number that nobody can believe. You're doing good. In other words, you're all doing good, right? It's a pandemic and you're doing good. You got to get this governor, you got to get her to open. I am so tired of watching her husband go sailing. He wants to go sailing. He's saying, darling, open up this state. I want to go sailing. But he was doing it before. Unfortunately, he got caught. Remember, he got caught. His neighbors turned him in. Can you believe it? At every turn, I don't think she likes me too much. What do you think? Do you think she likes me? I don't think she likes me too much. And I've done a great job for her. You know what? On COVID, the China virus, I've done a phenomenal job for her. At every turn, Biden twisted the knife into the back of Michigan workers and workers all over the country. In 2016, Michigan voted to fire this corrupt political establishment, and you elected an outsider as president who is finally putting America first. If that's okay. Is that okay? And if I don't sound like a typical Washington politician, it's because I'm not a politician. And if I don't always play by the rules of Washington and the Washington establishment, it's because I was elected to fight for you, and I fight harder than any president has ever fought for the great people of this country. And I'm not just running against sleepy Joe Biden. I'm running against the left-wing media, the big tech giants. You see how crooked they are. How crooked are they? They made a mistake, you know, by not putting in. Here you have the biggest story there is, right? Corruption by Joe Biden. Forget about the son, by Joe Biden. But the son, the same thing. Look, even if Joe didn't get the 10% or the 50% that he was promised, listen to this. The son walks in, he had nothing, had no experience. He gets a job for $130,000 a month, right, on Burisma. And he gets a $3 million, they say a $3 million upfront payment. That sounds reasonable. Would anybody else take that job? A month. And he knew nothing about energy. Other than that, it sounded fine. Then he goes to China. He picks up $1.5 billion. He gets fees on that. That's millions of dollars a year. And then they give him $3.5 million from Moscow. The mayor of Moscow's wife gives him $3.5 million. You don't even hear about this because they refuse. In fact, they just turned the cameras off. They refuse. No. You see, you can't have a scandal if they don't report it. So the Times and the Washington Post and all of, you know, the fake news, CNN, look, they turned the cameras off. I knew that was. No, it's a terrible thing. They turn the damn cameras off when they do that. You know what happened? They go, we're here live at Joe Biden. You know, he's doing a thing. There's nobody there. I'm looking. They're showing the sea of people, 25,000 people. They're showing it's like a scene. And the other one, they're looking and there's like nobody there. But they've gone to that rally, and Fox has gone too. I don't know what the hell happened to Fox, right? What happened to Fox? Boy, oh boy. Well, we still have a few great ones at Fox. We still have a few great ones, but it's not like it used to be. Biden is the candidate. It's one of the biggest differences between this campaign and the campaign from 4 years ago. We're doing better now than we ever did. There's more enthusiasm. The crowds are much bigger. There's more enthusiasm. But Fox is the big difference. Somewhere along the line, we lost Fox, and that's okay. That's all right, but that's a big difference. And the big techs, I'll tell you, the big techs are much worse. You know, when I heard how bad they were, and I heard you can't win without them, they're so powerful, and then we won, I said, why are they powerful? Now they've gone totally nuts, okay? Mark Morgan, one of our top people on the border, we've had a great border, and he was showing how great the wall is. You know, we're almost finished with the wall and how it's working. And he said the success, you probably heard this, he said the tremendous success that we've had, and all he's doing is, he's not talking as a politician. He's so proud of the job because people aren't getting into our country, murderers and rapists and all that. They're not coming into our country anymore. We're working very closely with Mexico. They have 27,000 troops on the border. And Mark Morgan is explaining how great this wall has been. It's going to be finished very soon. It's much sooner. Oh, they're going crazy because they never thought we'd get it built, right? That's why they don't talk about it anymore. They don't talk about the wall. They used to talk about it. Now they don't talk about it anymore. But Mark is talking about how incredible the border security. And they took down his tweet. And they wanted to close him up. All he's doing is saying, like, we're doing a good job. And he's not a politician. He's saying he's doing a good job. They took down his tweet, and they got the hell knocked out of him, and they put it back up, I understand. But this is really bad. And they don't do that to liberals. They don't do it to liberals. They don't ever do it. They don't touch them. And a lot of things are happening. Biden is the candidate of anarchists and rioters and looters and gun grabbers, flag burners. We ought to put people in jail for a year when they burn our flag. You know, what the hell is that all about? I see them burning a flag. They ought to have you burn the American flag, you go to jail for 1 year. Be amazing. It's like I signed the law. You knock down a statue or a monument, you go to jail for 10 years. It's amazing how that stopped. It's amazing how that stopped, isn't it? But it's the lobbyist special interests. I'm the candidate of police officers, the middle class, law-abiding, hard-working American patriots, and others. I mean, look, I think I'm the candidate of everybody. I think you got everybody here. I know a couple of rich people. Get them the hell out of here. We don't want them. This election will decide whether we restore the rule of a corrupt political class or whether we declare that in America, we are still governed. We are the people. We govern. We govern. We're the boss. We're the people. My opponent supported the job-killing Trans-Pacific Partnership, would have destroyed your automobile business. And I ended it immediately. In fact, Crooked Hillary was in favor of it, and when she heard me speak about it, she immediately turned against it, but she would have done it. He supported the horrendous South Korea trade deal that was supposed to produce 250,000 jobs, and it did for South Korea. It wasn't so good for it. And I renegotiated it. We made it good. We made it good. We kept the 25% chicken tax. You know about the chicken tax, right? That's on the small trucks, and you're doing well with small trucks. It's your best product, from a profitability standpoint. And it would have been a tremendous crushing blow to the auto workers. And I want to thank the auto workers because despite your leadership stinks. I'll tell you, all they want is their dues. Pay us dues. They want an increase in dues. They like their life. They like this. But you know, the workers, the auto workers, they support me like crazy. The Teamsters, you know, you have this guy, Hoffa. He calls up, can you help him with a trucking company, some trucking company, big, beautiful company, great people, many, many thousands of employees. Can you help us with that? And I said, yeah, I can probably do it. I worked it out so the people didn't lose their jobs. It kept the company going. I was very proud of it. I thought it was great. Then I see he's endorsing Sleepy Joe Biden. Biden can't get arrested, okay? Although, actually, that's turning out to be true. He can't get arrested. We've got to think about that one. He's endorsing Joe Biden. But you know who's endorsing me? You know who likes me? The Teamsters like me, and everybody, all of the workers like me. Maybe he won't run. I don't think he'd win anyway if he ran. Biden even supported the outrageous fuel economy standards. You know that. That's where every little ounce they suck for half a glass of gasoline, which we have plenty of right now. We have so much, we don't know what the hell to do with it, right? We had gasoline at one point selling for so little that if you took a barrel of gasoline, they gave you $36 with the barrel. It only lasted for 2 hours, but I was thinking about leaving government and going into that business. That's when the pandemic came in and all of a sudden people weren't driving cars, etc. Little things like that. But we have a lot of gasoline. We have a lot of energy. We have great energy. And we believe in all forms of energy. But when they want to turn off our great factories by doing what they're doing, with people like AOC plus 3 telling us how we're supposed to run our country. AOC plus 3, I don't think she ever went, she went to a college, right? Did she ever take an environmental course? All of a sudden she's saying no more cars, no more planes, no more flying. I reversed each and every one of those disasters. Now Biden wants to reinstitute. He wants to reinstitute. You know, it took 21 years, many highways and roadways, simple roadways would take 20 years to get permits. I have it down to 2 years. It's going to be 1 year. And they may get rejected for environmental reasons or safety reasons. But now we're building roads. We're doing things that we could never have done before. A vote for Biden is a vote to extinguish, demolish, and wipe out Michigan's auto industry and many of your other industries. Many of your other industries. A vote for me is to keep and create auto jobs and all sorts of jobs in Michigan where they belong. I ended the NAFTA nightmare and replaced it with the brand new USMCA. Just kicked in. You know how I know it's good? Because Mexico and Canada aren't so happy. They said, couldn't we keep NAFTA? I said, no. They said, well, we want to. We demand it. I said, okay, that's okay. We're going to put a 25% tariff on every car you send in. They said, like I said, wouldn't we like to see the USMCA done? No, I said to them, if you want to keep it, you can, but I'm going to tariff the cars that come into this country. So we made a great deal. We made a deal that's good for Michigan and good for everybody. Just kicked in. Great for the farmers. It'll bring tens of thousands of new jobs to Michigan. It'll bring hundreds of thousands of new jobs to our country. And we won't be ripped off like we were. And it's a big disincentive for a company to go and close up their doors and move to Mexico, move to Canada. Now, if you do that, there's a big price to pay. It's probably the primary reason I ran, if you want to know. I ran for a lot of reasons. I ran because the last administration was no good, period. I say it all the time, Joe, I wouldn't have run if it wasn't for you. You guys were so bad, I ran. When GM went bankrupt, Biden and Obama threw the workers at Delphi Corporation. Any Delphi people here? Are you Delphi? Where's Delphi? Oh, I tell you, I guarantee you they're voting for Trump, right? Trump. They threw these people under the bus, and days ago I signed an order to restore the pensions and all of the other things for workers, not only Delphi, in Wisconsin, Ohio, and Michigan, who were treated very unfairly, right? Good. I figured if we had none here, I would have just said the hell with it, you know. That's good. All right, you're going to be taken care of. They were promised by Obama. They were promised by Biden, actually. But then Biden realized he didn't understand the deal. He wasn't smart. He tried. Joe tried. He's having a hard time. All right? I'll tell you, I see these people and the level of viciousness. You see this character in 60 Minutes screaming. Savannah Guthrie screaming, all of them screaming. And then I see Sleepy Joe walk out. What flavor ice cream is it? He looks down. He actually had a hard time with that question. I said, they don't ask me questions like that. They don't do it. How about when they give him the questions? That's worse. When he reads them off, they give him a question. This is the people I deal with all the time. They're crazy maniacs. I deal with them all the time. They ask me things that are just terrible. And I've been doing this for a long time. They ask me very, very dangerous, horrible questions. And with him, it's like they give him the questions in advance, and he puts it on a teleprompter, just like that. They give him a question, then he goes, could you move that a little closer? And when I see that, I said, that means that he has the questions. Not since the Hillary Clinton scandal when she got, remember? Who now, that wonderful person that did it, Donna Brazile, is now working for Fox. So that was a great hire. That was a great hire. Let's hire Donna Brazile, who got fired by CNN and gets hired by Fox. What's that all about? Do you think there's some changes going on at Fox? I don't think so. Oh, I don't think so. Let's hire the person that cheated with Hillary Clinton. Joe Biden is a corrupt politician. The Biden family is looking more and more like a crime family, and they don't want to. It's called the laptop from hell. The laptop from hell. They took millions of dollars from the Chinese communists while Vice President Biden shipped Michigan jobs to China. How the hell can you have somebody fighting for you against China and he's getting money? Him and his family are getting millions and millions of dollars from China. And yesterday, press reports, I don't know about this, but press reports came out yesterday, said the Biden family is under FBI investigation for a long time for money laundering. For money laundering. If Biden wins, China wins. Now, how do you have it where they're getting millions and millions of dollars from communist China, and then he's going to be your president, and he's going to make a deal like I do? I've taken what I've done. Nobody has done what I've done, including to your steel, where they were dumping steel, and I charged them a tariff of 25%, and our steel companies came back. And the 25% was just the beginning. But our steel companies come back. I mean, they all came back. When we win, Michigan wins. When we win, America wins. And that's what I want. That's all I want. That's all I want. I had a very good life before this. People think this is easy. You make a telephone call, and these really dishonest people, they impeach you on a perfect call. How you doing? Congratulations on your win, a man I never even spoke to. I'd like to congratulate you on your win. He just became the president of Ukraine. Let's impeach him for that. These people are sick. But you know, the Republicans stuck together, 197 to nothing in Congress. And 52 and a half to a half. Does anybody know who the half was? Yeah. Biden didn't know, remember? He said, the man from Utah, what's his name? He didn't know. He didn't know. He forgot the name of the man. He's only worked with him for about 35 years. Something going on up there. He won't be there long. He's not going to be there at all because our country will be destroyed. Honestly, we can't play games. We can't play games. You can't put, you know, we have the potential. We have more potential as a country than we've ever had. We can't have a guy like this in there. The guy doesn't have a clue. He doesn't, and they'll say things that are unbelievable. He'll say things about me. They do an ad about me that is so false, and you can't do a thing about it. And we put them a notice. We said it was false. It was all false. We put them a very strong legal notice. They keep it going. You know, they figure, what the hell, the thing's over with in 5 days. Why should we change it? These are bad. I'm telling you, those are bad people. That's why I say, I'm just going to tell you the truth. I'll tell you the truth. But here's the difference is this is the truth. He's shot, okay? He's shot. Just like, and it's not because of his age, because at 78 or whatever it is. I know a lot of people that are 85. I know a person, 92. Bernie Marcus, 92, Home Depot. He's like, perfect. I think in fact, I told him, I think he's sharper now than he was 25 years ago, if you want to. No, it's not the age. You know, they say age, it's not the age. A lot of people in their 80s, even their 90s, they're shot. This guy is mentally shot. One of the biggest issues for Michigan, other than that, let's keep it going, is this election is, and you know what, one of you very big is the whole refugee situation, right? I know it's a big deal here. To protect our national security earlier this week, I suspended the entry of refugees from foreign nations compromised by terrorism. So you saw what's going on in France, right? You saw that? And they had another big attack last night, a really bad one. We are keeping, if it's okay with you, if it's okay with the people of the great people of Michigan, you got to give me approval. We are keeping radical Islamic terrorists the hell out of our country. I remember I was in the campaign and I'm running against this guy named Ben Carson, and he was tough. He was tough. No, he was tough. And he made a statement somewhat similar to that, and everybody said, oh, he's going to have to leave the campaign. I said, no, he's not. His poll numbers just went way up, I'll bet. Next day, what did they go up? Bet like 7, 8, 9 points. I said, see? Then I had to start really worrying about this guy. He went up. Everyone said you had to leave, right, Candy? He has to leave the campaign. I said, no, it's actually going to be good for him. We don't want to be used. We don't want to be taken advantage of. And I got past a ban. It's a ban on people coming in from certain countries that are horrible countries where they hate us and the people hate us, right? You know, and one of the reasons we're going to go, I'm going there later, we have a governor and an attorney general. We have 25,000 people want to go in Minnesota, right? One of the reasons we're going to win, and they want us to have 250 people. That's a slight difference. We have 25,000 people, but they have a rule: you can't have more than 250 people for a political event. So they're scamming us. So, you know what? That maybe will give us the final victory. We haven't won Minnesota since 1972. Okay, that's a long time, which would tell you the odds. You know, that's not good odds. But we're very popular because I helped with that disaster in Minneapolis. Like, we got the guys in there, and what did it take? About 25 minutes, it was over. They should have called a long time before. They went through 2 weeks of hell, and that's what we do. The federal government is always prepared to come in. If you had problems, the federal government is always prepared to come in. We will extinguish those problems very, very quickly. But when you look, and we'll always come in, and some people say it's not politically correct to say that. Yeah, it's politically correct. I thought it was a beautiful sight. They lined up. This is after a week and a half of terror. Remember, you had that idiot anchor from CNN stand. This has been a friendly protest. And over his shoulder, it looked like Berlin in its worst day during the war. The worst day they ever had. But no, they told us we can only have 250 people, so they thought I'd cancel. Oh, this is really great. Trump will cancel. No, I'm going to go, and I'll have 250. That's like the first row. I'll have 250 people, and they'll have a lot of people outside, but I don't want them to stand outside. It's colder there than it is now. But it's very cold and very horrible because the President of the United States is going to Minnesota to talk to people, and they're suppressing it. And they think that's good, but I don't. That shows weak leadership by the governor and very unfair leadership by the Attorney General. One thing I'll say about that Attorney General, I have to say this. He was like the first one, he and a couple of people, he was sitting down being interviewed by George Stephanopoulos or somebody. And he said, no, but he was like a vice chairman of the Democrat Party, and you know who I'm talking about. And he said, Trump is going to win. This was like right after I came down the escalator with our future First Lady, right? That beautiful trip. No. And he said, Trump is going to win. No, you're kidding. Why? No, Trump is going to win. So I realized then he's a very smart person, okay? He turned out to be right about that one, didn't he, Nigel, the great Nigel? We're working to help the Chaldean Christian community also, by the way. We're working to help them. We're working to help them. They've been, are you Chaldean? Oh, wow. Good. Oh, good. All right, no, we're working to help. We're going to help. We're going to help. You know, you've only been working on it for 25 years. Just like I did with Israel and so many other things. These guys, they talk, nothing ever gets done. Chaldean American. What are you going to show me there? You opened your jacket. Look at this. Oh. Now I like the Chaldeans even more. Oh, that's good. No, they have great, you know what? They have great support. They have great support. They have great support. Good. Thank you very much. They do have great support. Hey, look, it's a wildlife. Biden has pledged a staggering 700. This is with Bernie Sanders and the manifesto, we call it. You know, that's the deal with Bernie, crazy Bernie. And I mean, he lost twice now. The guy's the greatest loser I've ever seen. No, he loses. He doesn't even complain about it. Just goes back into Congress. He votes. He votes, holds up his hand, radical, anything radical left. A guy, I've never seen a guy like that. He get treated very badly by the Democrats with Hillary. Then he runs again. Is Bernie Sanders going to run again in 4 years? Does anybody? I don't know. He's all right. I'll tell you one thing, he fights like hell, right? Who would have been easier, him or Sleepy Joe? I don't know. No, he has a smaller base, but they have energy. Joe has a bigger base, but there is zero energy, right? Now, we have a really big base, and we have more energy than anybody. Right? A 700% increase in refugees from the most dangerous terrorist spots anywhere in the world, including Syria, Somalia, where Omar, that's the other reason I'm going to win. Omar. Ilhan Omar, she loves our country very much. And Yemen, right? Now she's going to help me win. She's going to protest when I go up there, and I'll say, thank you very much. Every time you protest, it's got to add about 25% of the vote. The Biden plan, she's telling us how to run our country, and she doesn't love our country. That I can tell you. The Biden plan will turn Michigan into a refugee camp. If you look at what they want to do, this is agreed to with Bernie Sanders and that group, a 700% increase. A lot of you people are saying, no, thank you. He has also vowed to terminate our national security travel bans, allowing unlimited migration from deadly war zones and terrorist havens. You're all sitting here saying, you know, I think I'm changing my vote. I think we'll go with Trump. That I even have to do this. You know, I will say this, and it's terrible, but, you know, before this COVID, there's about 24 names, right? China plague, China virus, but we have about 24. Let's just go with the China virus. Before the China virus came, we were going to have the easiest campaign in history. I was up so much. Now I got to work, right? I have to work, and that's okay. Actually, I think people respect it even more. They respect it even more. No, but it has. It's affected, you know, politics and leadership all over the world. I mean, people that were very popular all over, because it's a pale. But we've handled it well. Our people have done an incredible job. Our generals, I mean, look at the vaccines. Look at me. I go in, sister, I wasn't feeling too good. And they gave me something called Regeneron. The next morning, sister, I woke up, and it was like God touched my shoulder, right? I said, Mom, let me at him. I said, give me a trade deal for Michigan. I want to go and renegotiate a trade deal. No, what they've done is incredible in a short period of time, 6 months. I mean, they never even heard of this drug. And now Eli Lilly's also doing something similar. We have things coming out that are amazing. And even the Times wrote today, people are getting better. People are getting better because of what's happening. And for the Times to write that, that's a very, very hard thing for them to write. You would have thought they would have waited a few days, actually. Let's wait. Let's put out that story on the 4th of November. And you know that everything's COVID, COVID, COVID. You know that. You turn on the news, COVID, 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 COVID. And, you know, cases are up. Why are cases up? Because we test more than anybody in history. I mean, we have tests on top of tests. We'd like another test. We got 19 different versions. And we test much more than India. They have 1.5 billion people. And many countries don't test at all. Many countries don't test at all. But we test more. But deaths are way down. And where people are getting better. But I'm an example of it. My wife is an example of it. First Lady. And Barron Trump, young, very young, 14. He's my very tall 14-year-old boy. He's tall. He's a tall guy, but he's a strong guy. And, he tested positive. The doctor said, "Sir, Barron has tested positive." The doctor's here, Sean, great doctor. He said, "He's tested positive." I said, "Positive for what?" He said, "COVID." I said, "Oh, that's terrible." He said, "No, he'll be okay." Like 15 minutes later, "How's Barron doing, Doc?" "Oh, it's okay. He's fine now." No, they have strong immune system. Now they'll say, "He exaggerated the time." They're so sick. They're so sick. You know what I said? I got myself into trouble with that also. Great gentleman from England. I said that refugees are coming in and they're promising them more than they give our citizens. They said, "We're going to give you health care. We're going to give you a free education. And every refugee that comes in will get a free Rolls Royce." And CNN went crazy. They said, "President Trump lied. They're not getting a Rolls Royce." It's true. They took it very seriously. You can't be sarcastic. You can't have a little bit of fun, because if you do, you look very bad. No, they said, it's not true about the Rolls Royce, but at 800,000 a pop, I would say probably not. They took it. CNN took that very seriously. Joe Biden's plan will delay the vaccine, postpone therapies, crash the economy, and shut down our entire country. Under the Biden lockdown, countless Americans will die from suicide, drug overdose, deferred medical care. So many things happen. Abuse. What's happening? There will be no school, no graduations, no weddings, no Thanksgivings, no Christmas, no 4th of July. There'll be no nothing. There'll be no future. Other than that, it's quite a good plan, I think. Biden doesn't have a clue. Look, the cure cannot be worse than the problem itself. Always remember. Biden wants to keep everyone locked up, even young Americans who are at extremely low risk from the virus. He wants to steal the dreams and the futures of our youngest citizens. And when a child loses a year of his life because he's locked in, and one thing we have found, there are a lot of telehealth has been great, and a lot of but when you're looking at a laptop, it's not nearly as good as sitting in a classroom. That has been determined. It's not good. It's not the same. And we're keeping these kids away from school, and that's something. It's great in some instances, and telehealth is one of them. But when it comes to school, we've learned very strongly it's not the same, which is why I'm going to win. We're going to win with a record number. I think there's a vote out there. That is incredible. Let me ask you a question. Who has voted by ballot or who has voted so far? Okay. Who is going to vote on Tuesday? Yeah. It's a funny thing. We tell our people go out and vote. We're not big into the ballot world. We sort of don't like it, okay? Because too many tricks get played. Like they find Trump ballots in a waste paper basket. They find them in dumpsters. They found some in the river. It was that lovely. Look, all those ballots. Oh, they happen to be Trump ballots. No, they're finding them all over the place. 500 incorrect applications get sent to Virginia. The beauty was they sent many ballots to a certain state that were only defective in one way. They didn't have the name Trump on it. In other words, if you wanted to vote for Trump, what do? I guess you're supposed to write it out. Then they'll say, you can't do that. No, it's a crooked deal. It's a crooked deal. It's a very sad thing. We like going to vote. And the other thing, funny, they don't want to vote. I could say go to vote on Saturday or on Sunday or Monday. They really want to vote on Election Day. No, I like it. And we are going to have a red wave, the likes of which has never been seen. And let me give the Democrats the bad news. Their vote is under what they thought they needed. Thank you. But their votes are under. They're not performing like they should. They'll probably drop some of the ballots and sign them real quick. I could just see the governor of Nevada. I'm sure he'd never do this, but get me some ballots. We're losing here. Because, they don't want to have any signature verification in Nevada. They don't want the governor. He was a political guy. He ran the political club, so he's a beauty. So they don't want to have any verification of a signature. So if they lose it, they'll say, "Get me some ballots real quick. I'll sign them myself." No, I went to vote. I voted, and I went into a place in Palm Beach, and I said, "Boy, this is so." The woman said, "Sir, may I please see your identification?" I said, "Sure." But I wanted that. I wanted. So I took out a passport. "Sir, do you have any other form of identification?" I said, "Are you serious?" I said, "No, but I did." I gave her something else. And I sat and I filled out the form. There was no way you could cheat. There was no way. It was really good. It was really professional. And other people, they come in. It was so nice. And we should have voter ID, by the way, voter ID, the whole country. And thanks to our relentless efforts, only 3% of ER visits nationwide, right, are related to the virus. So 3% of hospital rooms, emergency rooms, 3% are related right now, exactly, just came out last night, 3% to the virus. A lot of people, you read about cases, but now they're young people, they're college students, they're younger than college students, but they love the word case because cases have gone up. They don't say that it's a 14-year-old kid or that it's a 20-year-old student you go under 70 and you go under certain ages and it's 99.9%. They just, it's a whole different thing, but they don't like to talk. But I see it's always cases are up and people go crazy, No, it's, you live with it and you have, and you know what to do. We understand it now. You got to understand it. But we're making that beautiful turn and the vaccines are coming. Due to our groundbreaking therapies, the fatality rate is down 85%. Think of that. And our excess mortality rate is 42% lower than Europe. They kept saying, Germany, Germany, Germany. Yeah. First of all, they have different ways of counting. In Germany, if you have a bad heart and you're ready to die, or if you have cancer and you're going to be dying soon, and you catch COVID, that happens, we mark it down to COVID. Our doctors get more money if somebody dies from COVID. You know that, right? Our doctors are very smart people. So what they do is they say, "I'm sorry, but, everybody dies of COVID." But in Germany and other places, if you have a heart attack or if you have cancer, you're terminally ill, you catch COVID, they say you died of cancer. You died of heart attack. With us, when in doubt, choose COVID. It's true. No, it's true. Now they'll say, "Oh, it's terrible what he said," but that's true. It's like $2,000 more, so you get more money. This could only happen to us, where cases are now surging, and if you look at Europe, they're surging despite these draconian lockdowns. They have it locked down, and they're surging. So what happens is you get it, if you get it, stay away. If you get it, you're going to get better. And then you're going to be immune, and it's a whole thing, and it goes away. But the vaccines will help. But don't take my word for it, because we have a video, and I want to just show you a little video. We only do this to people we really like, because this thing costs a lot of money. So we have a very little and very quick video, but it's very descriptive, and it talks a little bit about Sleepy Joe. Okay.
Fact is, every time I've called the president, he's quickly gotten on the line. When we asked to get support for that Mercy ship in Southern California, he was able to direct that in real time.
What the federal government did, working with states, was a phenomenal accomplishment.
We got 2,000 of these field medical sites that are up, almost all operational now in the state because of his support. And those are the facts.
His team has been on it. I know a team when they're on it, and I know a team when they're not on it. His team is on it. They've been responsive late at night, early in the morning.
We are working very well with FEMA Region 2 and with the Army Corps of Engineers, building 4 field hospitals. That was a decision the president himself took, and I'm grateful for it.
These were just extraordinary efforts and acts of mobilization. And the federal government stepped up. We needed help, and they were there.
He said everything that I could have hoped for. And we had a very long conversation. And every single thing he said, they followed through on.
we've got to have double the number of ventilators that we requested for that area of the state. And in fact, we got them in, frankly, short order.
Have we lost anyone because we didn't have a bed, or we didn't have a ventilator, or we didn't have healthcare staff? No.
The president was extending support for new swabs. So conversation, commitment, promise made, promise kept.
My problem is I voted for NAFTA. I'm supporting NAFTA because I think it is a positive thing to do. And I do not pretend to be an expert on international trade matters.
Trade agreements like NAFTA and permanent normal trade relations with China, which forced American workers to compete against people who are making pennies an hour, has resulted in the loss of 160,000 jobs.
The president is absolutely right when he says that China has been cheating for 25 years and that Bill Clinton didn't do enough about it, George W. Bush didn't do enough about it, Barack Obama didn't do enough about it.
Rising China is an incredibly positive development for not only China, but the United States and the rest of the world. Rising China is a positive development. It is in our self-interest that China continue to prosper. We want to see China rise. China's a great nation, and we should hope for the continued expansion.
China is not our enemy.
We talk about China as our competitor. We should be helping. The idea that China is going to eat our lunch is bizarre. The idea that they are our competition, they're going to beat us, is bizarre. They're not bad folks. China's not a problem.
Allowing China into the World Trade Organization, which he supported, extending most favored nation status to China, which he supported, that those steps allowed China to take advantage of the United States by using our own open trade deals against us.
No.
Do you think in retrospect that you were naive about China?
No.
But doesn't he deserve some credit for that? It's better. The USMCA is better than NAFTA.
It is better than NAFTA.
Now, to be fair, maybe Biden's not telling us because he's forgotten his own plans. Watch Biden's staff quickly swoop in to shuffle him along during a quickie escape the basement trip to Pennsylvania.
Here's the deal. One of the things that is important is that keep in mind, although they're going to vote on Barrett, I think today.
That was terrifying.
What kind of country we're going to be? 4 more years of Georgia, he's going to find ourselves in a position where if Trump gets elected, we're going to be in a different world.
I don't know what to tell you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. But that says it all. That's easier than talking for a half hour. It says it all. Has no clue where he is. We're joined by some incredible people and warriors. Ben Carson and his incredible wife, Candy. Candy Carson, thank you very much. Thank you, Ben. Great job he does. What a great man. Congressional candidates. I hear he's hot. I hear he's doing great. Paul Young. Paul? That's great, Paul. I hear it's going good. You're winning, huh? I'm hearing good things. You're going to win. And Eric Izaki. Eric. Thank you, Eric. Thank you very much. Good luck, Eric. Heard you're doing really. We need these two guys. Please vote for them. And Michigan GOP Chair Laura Cox. Thank you. Are we winning, Laura? I see we're up. We're just up in the poll by 3 points. Good. So carry it in. I mean, 3 points. How the hell did you beat this guy by 3 points? Is that a win? I don't know. Hey, if it's one vote, we'll take it, right? We got to win. We got to win. Michigan is very important. Michigan, it's very important for Michigan that we win. For 47 years, Joe Biden betrayed the African American community. Biden devastated black families with his disastrous 1994 crime bill. That came up very much in the debate. He called young black men super predators, and he did it all the time. I gave former prisoners a second chance by signing our landmark criminal justice reform that Biden couldn't do and Obama couldn't do. Joe Biden flooded black neighborhoods with illegal foreign labor, and I'm providing black neighborhoods with billions of dollars in thanks with our opportunity zones, which have turned out to be incredible. Tim Scott, opportunity zones have been incredible, what they've done for communities and for Hispanic, black workers. Under our Platinum Plan, we'll create 3 million new jobs for black Americans, restore safety to every neighborhood, and we'll deliver school choice to every parent in America. Right? Good. And in conclusion, I just want to say it's been an honor to be with you. This is incredible. It's cold out here. It's cold. I'd say it's a little cold. But over the years and over the next 4 years, we will make America into the manufacturing superpower of the world, and we will end the reliance on China once and for all. That's already started. We will hire more police, increase penalties for assaults on law enforcement, and we will ban deadly sanctuary cities. We will end the big tech monopoly and restore freedom of speech. We will defend religious liberty, the right to life, and the right to keep and bear arms. We will maintain America's unrivaled military might, and we will ensure peace through strength. We will end surprise medical billing, require price transparency, lower drug prices even more. We have done something nobody's done. 52 years. Last year, drug prices went down, but now they're going to go down at a very high rate because we're doing favored nations. The drug companies don't like me too much, I will tell you. We will protect Social Security and Medicare, and we will always protect patients with pre-existing conditions. America will land the first woman on the moon, and the United States will be the first nation to land an astronaut on Mars. We will stop the radical indoctrination of our students and restore patriotic education to our schools. We will teach our children to love our country, honor our history, and always respect our great American flag. And we will live by the timeless words of our national motto, "In God We Trust." For years, you had a president who apologized for America. Now you have a president who is standing up for America and standing up for the great people of Michigan. See, now a lot of times Biden would say, standing up for the great people of Ohio. No, it's Michigan. No. That's happened 7 times. Can't do that. You can't let that happen. You can't let that happen. We did not come this far and fight this hard only to surrender our country back to the Washington swamp. So get your friends, get your family, get your neighbors, and get out to vote. Get out to vote. Got to do it. Got a big day, Tuesday. Don't even do it on Monday. My people said, oh, let them go Monday, Sunday. Don't worry about it. Just do it like you like to do it. Just do it. Tuesday's good. On November 3rd, we must finish the job and drain the swamp once and for all. Nobody ever said it was going to be that deep. Nobody ever said it was going to be that deep and that vicious, but we're knocking the hell out of them. They don't know what the hell is going on, they're saying. It's been tough for them, too. They never had a thing like this. From Midland to Mackinac, from Lansing to Grand Rapids, and from Battle Creek to right here in Waterford Township. Nice. We inherit the legacy of Michigan patriots who gave their blood, sweat, and tears for this beloved nation. This is the state where Henry Ford invented the assembly line. Think of that. It's the place where General Motors, Chrysler, and Kellogg revolutionized entire industries. What a state. Michigan gave us Motown, the Mustang, and the unrivaled might of the American Midwest. We made America into the single greatest nation in the history of the world, and the best is yet to come. Proud citizens like you help build this country, and together we are taking back our country. We are returning power to you, the American people. It's what I said I was going to do. With your help, your devotion, your drive, we are going to keep on working, we are going to keep on fighting, and we are going to keep on winning, winning, winning. We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. And together with the incredible people of Michigan, we have made America powerful again. We have made America wealthy again. We have made America strong again. We have made America proud again. We have made America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, Michigan. Go out and vote. Thank you.
And President Trump wrapping up a 1 hour plus rally there in Michigan, right outside of Detroit. Now heading to Wisconsin, where he will be doing a rally at about 4 o'clock Eastern in Green Bay, Wisconsin there. So we will have that for you a little bit later here on NewsNowFox.com. You can check that out. Hi, everyone. Mike Page here as we continue to bring you election 2020 coverage right here, bringing you the campaign events as they are happening. Now, while that was going on, we had Joe Biden in Des Moines, Iowa. And, of course, we couldn't bring it to you all at the same time. So right now we are going to show you his rally in Iowa right now. This was just moments ago right here on News Now from Fox.
Hello, Polk County. Hello, Des Moines. Back at the State Fair. God love you all. Thank you for being out here today. Folks, I want to thank Ross. Thanks for the introduction. Ross, my heart goes out to you. It really is like, you know, I know it's hard, but you've been turning loss into purpose, saving lives. People who, in fact, asked me about my circumstances in the past, I said the best way to get through it is the purpose. Find purpose. And you've done that. And Governor Tom and Christy Vilsack, my best buddies, thank you, thank you, thank you for all you've done for me before, now, and God willing, after. Jill and I will always be grateful for your support and your friendship. And folks, Cindy Axne, God love her, and Abby Finkenauer, I tell you what, you guys are the single best congresspersons I've campaigned with. You need leaders like you right now. We need more of you. We need more. We got to elect them both. And by the way, we need Rita in the 2nd District and JD in the 4th District. It's time we can change things a little bit here. Right? Time to change it. I tell you what, and how about Teresa? I tell you what, you have no idea how much you're going to make my night when you win. You have no idea. And how you're going to make everybody else's night. You're, as they say back in Scranton, you're the real deal, kid. You're the real deal. And you've never forgotten where you came from. And the thing I'm confident about is even going to Washington. As a U.S. Senator, you're not going to forget where you came from and who you are. Your values are baked in. They're Iowa values. They're American values. You value honor, decency, respect, and dignity. You know they all matter. They matter a lot. That's who we are. And as we saw in the debate, where a farmer's daughter knows a break-even point for the price of corn and crops. You think that'd be fairly basic. That's like my not knowing where the Delaware River was back home. Folks, but there's something else. Teresa and I both lost our first spouses. We've both been single parents to young kids. We both found a way back from broken places. And we know that's why you should elect this woman. Teresa to the United States Senate. She sees, she understands, she believes. When she talks to you, when you talk to her, you know, and I'm not just saying this, you know she understands. She gets it. You know, just like our good friend Tom Harkins was your senator, Teresa will be your senator for Iowa. Not like your opponent who's Donald Trump's senator for Donald Trump. Folks, only 4 days left. Millions of Americans are already voting. Millions more are going to vote by late Tuesday night. And I believe when you use your power, the power of a vote, we're going to change the course of the country and, quite frankly, the world. Right here in Iowa with all of you. In the final days, please keep your sense of empowerment. Keep your sense of optimism of what we can do together, because you know we can do anything. You know how I know how hard it is. More than 200, and now I think it's up to 30,000 people have died. America's dead because COVID-19, nearly 1,700 dead right here in Iowa. Iowa hit a record number of daily cases yesterday with over 2,300 and a record number of hospitalizations, more than 600. We've now hit 9 million cases nationwide, a tragic milestone. And millions of people are out of work, on the edge, and they can't see the light. They don't know. It just looks dark right now for them. 82,000 Iowa jobs lost in this pandemic, and still they've not come back. 70,000 jobs lost in Iowa since Donald Trump became president. Here at the fairgrounds, the Iowa State Fair canceled for the first time since World War II. And Donald Trump has given up. The White House Chief of Staff said it out loud last week. He said, we're not going to control the pandemic. We're not going to control the pandemic. In the debate last week with Donald Trump, he said, we're rounding the corner. It's going away. And only he could say, we're learning to live with it. Well, I may remember what I told him. We're not learning to live with it. We're having to learn to die with it because of you. Donald Trump has waved the white flag. He surrendered to this virus. But the American people don't give up. Remember what he said when he did that interview? He said, although he knew about the crisis, he knew how bad it was back in January, the end of January, he decided not to tell the people because he worried they would panic. Well, guess what? We don't panic. He panicked. And he misrepresented to us. Imagine if he had told us in January how dangerous this was and took action. It's estimated there'll be over 130,000 people still alive. And by the way, we don't cower, and nor do I, and never will we. Unlike Donald Trump, we'll not surrender to this virus. I'm going to put in place a plan to deal with this pandemic responsibly, which I laid out back in March, bringing the country together around testing, tracing, masking. It's estimated by the leading doctors in America that if you just wore those masks for the next, between now and the end of the year, we would save, just putting this mask on, we'd save 100,000 lives. It's expected that 200,000 more lives will pass between now and the end of the year. Dr. Fauci called last week for a mask mandate. This isn't a political statement. It's patriotic duty, for God's sake. But still, Donald Trump refuses to listen to science. He politicizes the race for a vaccine instead of planning for its safe and equitable and free distribution. He refuses to provide schools and small businesses the resources and national standards where they can open safely and stay open. But I'm going to bring together Republicans and Democrats to deliver economic relief to working families and schools and businesses. The Congress has already passed this legislation. It's sitting there. But he refused. He spent all his time this summer in his golf course bunkers or down in the White House bunkers. Think about it. I've been around for a while. I'll bet even Senator Grassley would have to acknowledge that I don't ever remember any president in a crisis where there's a disagreement in the House and the Senate between Democrats and Republicans, didn't even try to bring them together to deal with this. The House back in May passed the HEROES Act, which would allow businesses and schools to open safely because it costs money. You need sanitation. You need ventilation. You need masking. You need distancing. You need separators. It all costs money. But instead, 1 in 6 businesses now out of business because he won't act. I've said before, I'm not going to shut down the economy. I'm going to shut down the virus. Even before the virus, Donald Trump had already blown it. He inherited a strong economy from Barack and me. But like everything else he inherited, he squandered it. He squandered it, frankly. I've dealt with guys like Trump my whole life. So have you. Guys who think because they have a lot more money that they're better than you. Look down on you. I know, I acknowledge I got a bit of a chip on my shoulder. Coming from an Irish Catholic neighborhood where it wasn't viewed as that being such a great thing. When I read something about how if I'm elected president, I'm going to be the first non-Ivy League person to occupy the White House in a long time. Well, guess what? Like somehow I didn't belong if I didn't go to the Ivy League. Look, I'll say it about time. It's about time that a guy or woman who graduated from a state university is able to sit in the Oval Office. Because if I'm sitting there, you will be too. You know who really built this country. It wasn't Wall Street. It wasn't CEOs. It was hard-working folks like all of you who built the middle class. And unions helped build the middle class. We know how we can build it back and build it back better with an economy that rewards work for a change, not wealth. We can do it without raising a penny tax on the middle class. I guarantee you, give you my word as a Biden, no one making less than $400,000 a year will see a penny in their taxes raised. No one. But I tell you what, it's about time the wealthiest people in America, the billionaires and trillionaires, the multi-billionaires, and the biggest corporations start paying their fair share. 91 major corporations out of the Fortune 500 didn't pay a penny in tax last year. That's tens of billions of dollars. They're going to pay their fair share. Why should a firefighter, an educator, a nurse, a cop pay at a higher tax rate, which you do, than a major multi-billion-dollar corporation? Why should you pay more taxes than Donald Trump, who paid $750? You want to know everything I don't like about Trump? Let me tell you, captured in one answer he gave. He was asked last time out about paying so little tax and allegedly being a billionaire. Know what he said? He said, it's because I'm smarter. I know how to game the system. Well, they ain't going to be gaming the system anymore in the Biden administration. They're going to start paying. And we're going to deliver tax relief for working families and middle class to help you buy your first home, pay for health care premiums, or child care, or care for an aging loved one, or being able to pay off your student debt, for God's sake. Look, it's all about just where I come from. It's just about being fair. We're not asking anybody to do any more than anybody else. Just be fair, decent. Trump got a Supreme Court justice for overwhelming reason. By the way, never before has there ever been a hearing on a Supreme Court justice once an election began. That's never occurred. But he got his justice for one simple reason: to destroy the Affordable Care Act. He'd been trying since the day he got elected. And if they get their way, 100 million people will lose protection for pre-existing conditions, including 1.3 million Iowans will lose it. Complications of COVID-19 are going to become the next pre-existing condition, allowing insurers to jack up your premiums, delay your coverage. And a lot of young people don't realize this, but before Obamacare, insurance companies charged women more for the same health care they charge men because they could. That'll end. Donald Trump thinks health care is a privilege. I think it's a right. And if we all get out and vote. And by the way, they're going to court in 10 days. 10 days. As he said, to wipe it all out, end it, all of it. Well, I'll restore the Affordable Care Act, and I'll strengthen and build on it so you can keep your private insurance if you like it, or choose a Medicare-like public option. We're going to increase subsidies for lower premiums, deductibles, out-of-pocket expenses, surprise billing. And as Teresa said, this time we are going to make sure Medicare can negotiate with the drug companies for prices, reducing them by 60%. I promise you we'll get that done. We're going to make sure we can keep protections for people with pre-existing conditions. Remember what he said when he was talked about the people who were dying and not dying? He said, quote, virtually, this is a quote from Trump, virtually nobody's dying, except for people over 65 with heart conditions. Like they're disposable. What the hell's the matter with this guy? No, I'm not joking. Think about it. Think about it. And then, when he was told for the first time that we're, like we did today, 1,000 deaths a day, remember what his comment was? He said, it is what it is. Well, it is what it is because he is who he is. That's why it is what it is. These guys are something else, man. And meanwhile, the actuary at the Social Security Department says, if Donald Trump gets what he's saying, he said, you reelect me, I'm going to change Social Security. The actuary says, if the change occurs as he's promoting, it will bankrupt Social Security by 2023. Go home and tell your parents and grandparents that. That's a fact. As Teresa said, I'll protect Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And let's not forget how Donald Trump, weak and chaotic China trade policy has cost farmers and manufacturing so badly. Agricultural exports to China during the Trump years have been 40% lower than during the Obama-Biden second term. On his watch, and this really bugs me, on this watch, ethanol margins have tanked and Iowa's manufacturing facilities are idle and even closing. He even says, and I love this quote from him, he says, because of his bailouts, our farmers do better now than when they actually had a farm. I'm going to read that again. Our farmers actually doing better now than when they actually had a farm. Where's this guy from? Who does he think he is? Look, I'll do what he's been unable to do. I'll mobilize a true international effort to stop China's abuses so we can strengthen manufacturing and farming in Iowa and across the country. I'm going to hold China accountable, which he hasn't from the pandemic on. Folks, but there's nothing worse, in my view, than the way he has spoken about those who served in uniform. He called them losers and suckers. My son Bo, many of you knew, volunteered to serve a year in Iraq, gave up the Attorney General's job to do it, won the Bronze Star, the Conspicuous Service Medal, and other awards. He was neither a loser or a sucker. He was a patriot. And Teresa, so is your son Dane, who is in the Army. He's a patriot, like all of your sons, daughters, and all of those of you who have served. It's no wonder that the 6 top generals in the President's administration left and said he does not deserve to be commander-in-chief. His own generals in his own administration. No president has ever had that happen. None. And that's why Special Forces Commander Stanley McChrystal, General, and the head of the Navy SEALs, Admiral McCraven, along with 20 other 4-star generals, endorsed me, saying they'd be proud to have me as Commander-in-Chief. A sitting president. And that's why the Military Times quotes, more troops will vote for Biden and Trump. Folks, it's not about me, it's about him. That's why we have to support our military. You vote for me, you're voting for them. And while Donald Trump fails to condemn white supremacy, we can vote to deliver racial justice. A season of protest has broken out all across America. And by the way, legitimate protesting is not burning or looting. Violence can never be tolerated, and it won't. But those protests are cries for justice, for George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Jacob Blake. They'll not soon be forgotten, not by me, not by us, or not by this country. Folks, we have to vote to meet the challenge of climate crisis as well. More frequent extreme weather. The West is on fire. We've lost more forests than the total space of Connecticut and Rhode Island combined in the West. The Midwest, I need not tell you, is flooding. You know here in Iowa, with the wrench code, catastrophic floods and droughts that lay waste to lives, livelihoods, and whole communities. And in the South and the East, hurricanes are more severe. Oceans are rising. My state's only 3 feet above sea level. People are already talking about the change we have to make. We don't have a lot of time. Donald Trump, when you say climate change, he thinks hoax. And that stable genius, as he calls himself, continues to say wind power causes cancer. It's the same guy who said, by the way, you think I'm making this up, when he was advised about the increasing hurricanes coming across the Atlantic because of the warm water, he said maybe we should drop a nuclear weapon on them. Holy mackerel. This also a guy you may recall, a stable genius, said the problem with the Revolutionary War was we didn't have enough airports. And he talks about mental acuity. Whoa. Folks, you look at climate warming, you look at it the way I do. Creates jobs, Iowa jobs, jobs across America. You understand that here in Iowa, you've already created thousands of good-paying jobs because of your dominant in wind energy. And it's expected that the number of wind jobs will double or triple by 2030 in Iowa. Notwithstanding that the stable genius says wind power causes cancer, wind power helps save the planet, generates millions of dollars in economic growth, and provides good prevailing wage jobs. Folks, combating climate change means saving the planet, protecting our health, and creating millions of good-paying jobs, union jobs in wind and solar and carbon capture. Iowa farmers will be the first in the world to be in a position where they reach net zero emissions, because we're going to make sure there's a whole lot more land set aside and you get paid for it. Deep-rooted products, emissions, reward them. Folks, we can do this. There's nothing beyond our capacity. So honk if you want America to lead again. Honk if you want America to trust each other again. Honk if you want America to be united again. Folks, we cannot afford 4 more years of Donald Trump. In 2008 and 2012, you placed your trust in Barack Obama and me, and we worked for you, for the entire country. Well, I'll do it again in 2020. My campaign is a broad coalition, welcomes Democrats, Republicans, and independents. I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I will govern as an American president. I'll work as hard for those who don't support me as those who do. In my administration, there'll be no red states or blue states, just the United States of America. Folks, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. That's the job of a president. A duty to care for everyone, to heal. And you too have a sacred duty, a duty to vote. It matters. Iowa matters. So in these final days, stay empowered, stay united, stay optimistic, make a plan to vote, vote early, vote on Election Day, help get out the vote. Go to iwillvote.com/IA. Folks, this president has done everything to try to discourage us, to try to convince us that it doesn't matter. All about illegal voting, all the stuff he's putting up. But guess what? He will not be able to stop us at all. Despite Trump's efforts, a recent press article 2 days ago said, never before, quote, in modern presidential politics has a candidate been so reliant on wide-scale efforts to repress the vote as Trump, end of quote. We will not be silenced. 85 million people have already voted so far. We've had enough. Folks, look, I'll never forget, as a kid, the words of President Kennedy about going to the moon. He used the phrase, he said, we're doing it because, quote, we refuse to postpone. Well, I refuse to postpone the incredible opportunities available to the American people. There's nothing beyond our capacity. There is no limit to our future. The only thing that can't tear America, look, I'll talk about how we're in trouble. Well, nothing can tear America apart except America itself. And that's exactly what Donald Trump is doing from the beginning, trying to divide America, pitting Americans against one another based on race, gender, ethnicity, national origin. It's wrong. That's not who we are. Look, folks, everybody knows who Donald Trump is. We got to let them know who we are. We choose hope over fear. We choose unity over division, science over fiction, and yes, we choose truth over lies. So, folks, it's time for us to stand up, take back our democracy. We can do this. We're so much better than we've been. We can be who we are at our best. The United States of America. There is literally not a thing we've ever been unable to do. Nothing. The only country in the world that's ever come out of every crisis stronger than it went in is the United States of America. And with your help, I promise you, that's what we'll do again. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.
Joe Biden wrapping up there in Iowa. He has several events today, and we continue to feature election 2020 as America goes to the polls on Tuesday. And of course, we'll have full coverage for you on that day as well. Thank you so much for continuing to join us right here on News Now from Fox. We got to know a live look right here in Green Bay, where they are setting up for another President Trump rally there in Wisconsin. Of course, we'll have that for you. Should be happening within the next hour, but we're going to go out to Flagstaff, Arizona, where soon Vice President Mike Pence will be holding a live rally. And right now we have Senator Martha McSally from Arizona, who is in a tight race of herself going up against Mark Kelly. And we continue to bring you the very latest right here on News Now from Fox. Let's listen right here.
Okay, you know, if you want someone who's doing business with China, who's going to be Chuck Schumer's 51st vote, who's going to allow the radical left biggest tax increase in history, government takeover of health care, green bad deal, open borders, and coming after our Second Amendment rights, you got a guy named Mark Kelly. No. But if you want to continue to have a fighter for Arizona who's going to fight for our freedoms, fight for our rights, our constitutional rights, including our Second Amendment, work with President Trump for the great American comeback, secure our borders, continue to support our military, and keep America great, then I'm your girl, Arizona. I'm your girl. It's now my honor to introduce back to Arizona our incredible Vice President, Mike Pence.
All righty, so here you go. Vice President Mike Pence coming down the steps here of Air Force Two in Flagstaff, Arizona. He's going to have two events today in the Grand Canyon state. He is going to be here in Flagstaff and then go down close to the border in Tucson, Arizona a little bit later. You're watching live right here on News Now from Fox. And will he do the run that he has been doing? Sometimes he just runs up to the podium there, but looks like he's, oh, there it is. And there's the run. The run, the jog, you get it all right here on News Now from Fox. This is something that he's been doing the last couple of times here doing rallies. And there it is. It is back. And there's Vice President Mike Pence about to speak at his rally for President Trump as they try to get 4 more years in Washington. We're going to listen in right here in its entirety on News Now from Fox, bringing you the rallies as they are happening coast to coast as we are just 4 days away from the election. And when we have President Trump in Green Bay, we'll go to that, of course, right here.
Well, hello, Arizona. Thank you all for coming out today. It's great to be with you all. To one of the best governors in America, Governor Doug Ducey. To a real fighter in Washington, D.C., Senator Martha McSally. My friend, Congressman Gosar. Congressman Mullen. State Party Chair Kelly Ward, Tiffany Shen, and all of you who have been with us every step of the way. It is great to be back in the Grand Canyon state. But we're all here for one reason and one reason only, and that is that Arizona and America need 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. You know, it's amazing to think we're just 4 days away from a great victory all across Arizona and all across America, and the road to that victory goes straight through Arizona. And I came here today because we need the freedom-loving people of this great state to do just what you did in 2016. On November 3rd, we need Arizona to show America that this is Trump country. So thank you all for coming out today. It's a real joy to be with you. It is. And I want to thank some people in particular who are here. I'm honored to be joined by tribal leaders in Arizona and from all across America who are with us here today. Give them all a round of applause, will you? Especially one of the strongest advocates in this country for our Native American communities. Would you join me in thanking the Vice President of the Navajo Nation, Myron Lizer? Where are you, Myron? Thank you. Thank you for your support. It's also great to be here with a man that I served with during my years in the Congress. Before he was elected, he owned a dental practice in the area, was a small business owner for 25 years. But a good thing for Arizona and America that he responded to the call to serve in our nation's capital. And I can tell you, he's emerged as one of the greatest champions of the Constitution of the United States in the House of Representatives, and he's one of the greatest allies of President Trump and our agenda. Join me in thanking Congressman Paul Gosar, will you? Thank you, Paul. What a great guy. And finally, it really is an honor to share the stage with a woman who made history. And some of you may not know, my son is a fighter pilot stationed right here in Arizona. So we're a little bit partial to fighter pilots in our family. We actually have 2. My son-in-law is a Navy fighter pilot. But Arizona, you all know, you got a history-making woman here. The first female fighter pilot ever to fly in combat. The first woman to command a fighter squadron. And I can tell you, from the time she arrived in Washington, D.C., I was there. I was in the Congress. I saw her time in the House, and now I've seen her time in the Senate. She's emerged as one of the greatest champions of our national defense, of pro-growth policies, less taxes, less government, a strong border, and conservatives on our courts. So right after you get done re-electing President Donald Trump, the President and I need you to send Martha McSally back to the United States Senate. Would you get on your feet and show how much we're behind this extraordinary woman? Thank you, Martha. Thank you so much. You know, 4 years ago, here in Arizona, you believed we could be strong again. You believed we could be prosperous again. Arizona said yes to President Donald Trump in 2016. And from the looks of it, I know Arizona is going to say yes to 4 more years of President Donald Trump in 2020. That's what I'm talking about. And it really is because of all that we've done, all that we accomplished together since Arizona placed their faith in the man that would become our president. I mean, think about it. 4 years ago, we inherited a military that had been hollowed out by reckless budget cuts, an economy that was struggling to break out of the slowest recovery since the Great Depression. Terrorism was on the rise around the world, and we witnessed a steady assault on our most cherished values. But in 3 short years, we rebuilt our military. we revived this economy. We secured our border, supported law enforcement, and stood for life, liberty, and the Constitution of the United States. And the dramatic results on the economy really speak for themselves. You know, after Joe Biden had spent 8 years as vice president trying to tax and spend and bail us back to a growing economy, and presided over the slowest recovery in 80 years, President Donald Trump created the greatest economy in American history, and we're doing it again. Did y'all see those new GDP numbers yesterday? I mean, it is historical. I mean, the American economy grew by 33% during the third quarter, shattering any previous record. The great American comeback is on. And with 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House, we're going to bring this economy back bigger and better than ever before. I'll tell you, the president probably said it best yesterday. He said that third quarter GDP was the best in the history of the country. Not even close. And he said next year will be fantastic. You know, this great American comeback, I know the governor feels the same way as I do. It's first and foremost a testament to the character and the resilience and the strength of the American people. But it's also a tribute to a president and our allies in the Congress who worked with us to create the greatest economy the world had ever seen. It's amazing to think that now, in the midst of a global pandemic, Joe Biden wants to raise taxes by $4 trillion. And he's got his own version of the Green New Deal with a price tag of $2 trillion, and that's just a down payment. Under President Donald Trump, in our first 3 years, we cut taxes across the board for working families and businesses. We rolled back more federal red tape than any administration in history. We fought for free and fair trade, unleashed American energy, and in 3 short years, businesses created more than 7 million good-paying jobs, including more than 250,000 jobs right here in the Grand Canyon State. And that's a tribute to this president's leadership and our allies. But I got to tell you, it's also a tribute to a small businessman who decided to be your governor. Would you join me in thanking Governor Doug Ducey for being a champion for jobs and this great comeback in Arizona? Thank you, Governor. You know, when Joe Biden was vice president, America actually lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs. It's true. And remember when the last president was out 4 years ago? I saw he's back on the campaign trail this week. But when he was out campaigning last time, he said those manufacturing jobs were never coming back, remember? Yeah. He said, "What magic wand do you have?" Well, we didn't need a magic wand. We just needed President Donald Trump in the White House. 500,000 manufacturing jobs created in just 3 years, including 16,000 right here in Arizona. It's incredible. Incredible. And when it comes to trade, so important. I love you too. Thank you. Thank you. You know, When it comes to trade, it's so important to a state like Arizona. It's important to remember that when we took office, half of our international trade deficit was with communist China. And Joe Biden has been a cheerleader for communist China all along the way. He actually said that the rise of China was a positive development. Under President Donald Trump, our first day in office, we put China on notice. We imposed tariffs on China's goods coming in to the United States and made it clear that the era of economic surrender is over. And closer to home, you know, I know how important trade with Mexico and Canada is here in the Grand Canyon state. The governor and I talked about it many times. You know, for years, after NAFTA was signed, Democrats loved to complain about it. And the truth is, in the heartland where I grew up, we literally saw thousands of factories closed in the wake of NAFTA. And those jobs shipped south of the border and overseas. The truth is, people like Joe Biden complained about it for years and years, but never lifted a finger to make any changes. But when the man who wrote The Art of the Deal got to the White House, man, did we get a way better deal. NAFTA is gone, and the USMCA is here to stay. And it's a win for Arizona and a win for America. It's true. It's true. Now, y'all in Arizona deserve to know that Joe Biden's running mate, Kamala Harris, who last year was the most liberal member of the United States Senate. But you deserve to know that Kamala Harris was one of only 10 senators, right, Martha? She was one of only 10 senators to vote against the USMCA, even though it was a huge win for Arizona and for our country. I mean, Kamala Harris said that the USMCA didn't go far enough on climate change. And the truth is, Kamala Harris put her radical environmental agenda ahead of Arizona jobs and Arizona workers. When it comes to trade, I'll make you a promise. President Trump will always put American jobs and American workers first. And I love Arizona. And when it comes to energy, you know, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris spent the last year saying that they were going to ban fracking and abolish fossil fuels. Now, Joe Biden was in that presidential debate last week. And how good did President Trump do in that presidential debate? Am I right? How great was that? I mean, it got to if you stuck with it, it got the end of the presidential debate. It's like there was only a couple minutes left. And they start talking about energy. And Joe Biden actually said that America needs to, quote, transition from the oil industry. I loved it when the president said, that's a big statement. And boy, was it. And the truth is, lately they've been going to places like Pennsylvania and saying that they're not going to abolish fracking. They're not going to ban. But look, Joe Biden said show the tape, and we've been showing the tape. I mean, we know what's going on here, folks. I mean, they're going to advance their radical environmental agenda. They're going to work to abolish fossil fuels. Where President Donald Trump, he's been a champion of American energy every day, and we're now a net exporter of energy for the first time in 70 years. America is energy independent under President Donald Trump. I mean, the truth is, when you look at all those policies, and that's just a few of them, Men and women of Arizona, the choice we face this coming Tuesday is a choice between a Trump boom and a Biden depression. There was this nonpartisan study that just came out in Washington that said that Joe Biden's economic policies would cost America 5 million jobs and would reduce the average household income of Americans by $6,500 a year. So after you leave here today, over the next 4 days, if you come across anybody here in Flagstaff or anybody in neighbors and friends in Arizona or anywhere, I want you to tell them, you know, I was out at the airport, I ran into Mike Pence, and he said, if you're undecided, they wanted me to ask you just one question. Okay, you ready? Just look them right in the eye and say, who do you really think can bring the American economy all the way back? A career politician who spent 47 years raising taxes, growing government, waving a white flag on international trade? Or a proven job creator who's driving the fastest economic recovery in history? You ask them that. So to bring America all the way back, we need 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. You tell them that. You tell them. So we're talking about our prosperity, but all of you know that security is the foundation of our prosperity. And President Trump, from very early on, has put the defense and the security and the safety of America first, and we always will. It all starts with our national defense. After years of budget cuts that literally left a large portion of the aircraft in our Air Force on the ground being used as spare parts to keep other aircraft in the air when Joe Biden was vice president. And Democrats in Washington this last week, it was reported, are already talking about deep cuts in our national defense to pay for their massive big government programs. Under President Donald Trump, I'm proud to report, we're finally giving our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guard the resources and the support they need to defend this nation. And it's not just about standing with those who serve. It's about standing with all of you who are with us, who wore the uniform of the United States. In fact, would the veterans among us either stand or put your hand in the air and give us a chance to say thank you one more time? Thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. Thank you for our freedom. You know, when Joe Biden was vice president, America saw years of scandal at the VA. You remember? Scandals that shocked the conscience of the nation. I mean, literally, we had veterans that were dying on waiting lists, waiting to get the care that they earned in the uniform of the United States. And some of the worst abuses happened right here in Arizona. But under President Donald Trump, those days are over. This president signed the most sweeping reforms of the VA in 50 years. We fired 3,000 VA employees that weren't giving our veterans the care that they earned. And Veterans Choice is now available for every veteran in America. It really is. It's one more reason why we need 4 more years. And it's also one more reason why we need a combat veteran back on the Senate Armed Services Committee in a Republican majority. We need Senator Martha McSally back in the United States Senate. So it starts with our national defense. Standing beside those who've defended our freedom. But when it comes to law and order, I couldn't be more proud to serve alongside a president who has stood every day with the men and women who serve on the thin blue line of law enforcement. And that includes the men and women of Customs and Border Protection and ICE. You know, where Joe Biden wants open borders, taxpayer-funded health care for illegal immigrants, and Joe Biden wants to end police cooperation with ICE and suspend the Remain in Mexico program, President Donald Trump has stood strong with our great Customs and Border Protection and ICE officers. And I have to tell you, we couldn't be more proud that the National Border Union and the National ICE Council endorsed President Donald Trump for 4 more years. The results speak for themselves. With their courageous efforts and this president's leadership, this summer apprehensions for illegal immigration dropped by 70%. In our first 3 years, ICE deported over 16,000 gang members and arrested over 2,000 members of MS-13. We are keeping Arizona and America's families safe. And here in Arizona, I'm proud to report, President Trump has made record investments in border security. And where I heard today that Joe Biden says he'll stop building the wall, under President Trump, we've already built nearly 400 miles of border wall on the southern border, including 200 miles here in Arizona. And with 4 more years, we're going to build it all. You know, I'm so grateful for those that serve in uniform. My uncle was a police officer in Chicago, Illinois, and I remember when I was a little boy, my 3 brothers and I would go up to visit my grandparents. We'd be standing there in the living room, and my uncle would come walking out with that blue uniform on, the badge, sidearm, and we'd just look up at him in awe. All my heroes wear uniforms. I think you all know the men and women who serve in law enforcement across this state and nation are some of the best people in this country. And they deserve the respect of every American every day. Now, President Trump and I will always support the right of Americans to peaceful protest. It's enshrined in our Constitution. But rioting and looting like we saw this week in Philadelphia is not peaceful protest. Burning businesses is not free speech. You remember, all summer long, all Joe Biden ever talked about was peaceful protesters, while the American people literally watched businesses in our major cities burn to the ground. Businesses like Flora Westbrook's little salon in Minneapolis. Flora is a wonderful African-American business owner who I traveled with not long ago. She started that little hair salon 35 years ago, built it up with her own 2 hands. It became kind of a center of the community. And she told me in the days that followed the killing of George Floyd how she watched the violent protesters go closer and closer to her little salon, to her American dream, until they burned it to the ground. You know, the truth is Joe Biden would double down on the policies that have led to violence in our major cities. When you start to withdraw support for those who protect and serve our families, you only embolden those who would do harm to our communities. Now, Joe Biden explains it all by saying that he thinks America is systemically racist. And he thinks that police have a, quote, implicit bias against minorities. When Joe Biden was asked if he'd support cutting funding for law enforcement, he said, yes, absolutely. But let me make you a promise. Under President Donald Trump, we're not going to defund the police, not now, not ever. We're going to back the blue, and we're going to back the blue for 4 more years. You know, the president and I know we don't have to choose between supporting law enforcement and supporting our African American neighbors or other minorities or families that live in our cities. We've done both for the last 4 years, and we'll keep doing both for 4 more years. We supported new funding, 4,000 new police officers on our streets. We launched Operation Legend that's seen to the arrest of more than 2,500 dangerous offenders perpetrating violence in our cities. And at the same time, we saw the lowest unemployment ever recorded for African Americans, the highest funding ever for historically black colleges and universities. We have fought for school choice for every family in every community in this state. And we've seen billions invested in opportunity zones. So men and women, we're going to have law and order in every city, in every state in this nation, for every American of every race and creed and color. So help us God. The foundation of the law and the rule of law is found in the Constitution and in our judiciary that defends it. And I'm proud to report to you today, with the support of the people of Arizona in 2016, with the strong support of Senator Martha McSally, this president's already seen more than 220 conservative judges appointed to our federal courts at every level. And they are all men and women who will uphold the God-given liberties enshrined in our Constitution, like the freedom of religion, the freedom of speech, and the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. And that includes Justice Neil Gorsuch, Justice Brett Kavanaugh, and Justice Amy Coney Barrett. Isn't she great? I'll tell you what, those hearings, I never thought a judiciary hearing would be fun to watch, but boy, that was. Justice Amy Coney Barrett's going to make an incredible contribution. Because this really is about having a Supreme Court that won't legislate from the bench, a Supreme Court that will uphold our Constitution, right, Paul? And I can assure you, she and the whole generation of men and women the president has appointed to our courts will. Because it really is about our liberties. I mean, you all deserve to know that when Joe Biden was vice president, we saw a steady assault on the freedom of religion of Americans. We did. There was an erosion of the conscience rights of doctors and nurses and religious charities under the last administration. And they even hauled a group of nuns into federal court to force them to compromise their faith to live under the mandates of Obamacare. And 2 years ago, when Amy Coney Barrett was going through a confirmation for the Court of Appeals, you might remember the leading Democrat on the Judiciary Committee said that her Catholic faith was a concern to the Democrats on the committee. She actually said, and I quote, "The dogma lives loudly within you." And Hollywood elites have been criticizing Amy Coney Barrett's faith ever since. Well, I got a message for the Democrats in Washington and their friends in Hollywood. That dogma lives loudly in me. That dogma lives loudly in you. And the right to live and work and worship according to the dictates of our faith lives loudly in the Constitution of the United States of America. Under President Trump, we've stood for the freedom of religion. We repealed the Johnson Amendment and restored freedom of speech to every pulpit in America. We restored the conscience rights of doctors and nurses and charities. And President Donald Trump ended the assault on the little sisters of the poor, and the Supreme Court made it permanent. And finally, when you're talking about our most cherished values, I couldn't be more proud to serve alongside a president who stands without apology for the sanctity of human life. Thank you. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris support taxpayer funding of abortion all the way up to the moment of birth. And they're calling for a record increase in taxpayer funding of abortion at home and abroad. President Donald Trump is the most pro-life president in American history. So in our first 3 years, we rebuilt our military. We revived this economy. We stood for law and order, life, and liberties. And none of that would have been possible without the strong and consistent support of Arizona's Republicans in Congress. It's true. So right after you reelect President Donald Trump for 4 more years, and right after you reelect Senator Martha McSally to the United States Senate, we all need you to send Paul Gosar, Congressman Mark Wayne Mullen, and Tiffany Shedd to a new Republican majority in the House of Representatives and retire Nancy Pelosi once and for all. Out. She has got to go. You know, when you look at what we were able to accomplish when we had a Republican House and a Republican Senate, there's only one way you can describe it. In our first 3 years, we made America great again. And then 2020 arrived, and the coronavirus struck from China. But before the first documented case of community spread, men and women of Arizona, you deserve to know. President Trump did what no American president had ever done in our history. He suspended all travel from China, the second largest economy in the world. He put the health of America first. Now, Joe Biden said that was xenophobic. He actually wrote at the time that banning travel in a global pandemic would, quote, make things worse. But Joe Biden got it wrong. And President Trump got it right. I mean, I can tell you, President Trump's actions suspending travel from China saved untold American lives because it bought us invaluable time to stand up the greatest national mobilization since World War II. I mean, working closely with Governor Ducey and with governors around America, we reinvented testing. We saw to the manufacture of billions of supplies of PPE, ventilators. No American ever required a ventilator was denied one. No one has ever required an ICU bed was denied one. We developed therapeutics and medicines. And we're just a short time away from when we will have the first safe coronavirus vaccine in the world with tens of millions of doses for the American people. You know, you all did an incredible job in Arizona during the outbreak across the Sun Belt this summer. It was a demonstration of the extraordinary work of your doctors and nurses, first responders, and the care and compassion of the people of this state. And as we see cases rise, particularly across the heartland and even somewhat here in Arizona, I want to assure you, we're going to continue to move heaven and earth to make sure that our doctors and nurses, and here in Arizona and everywhere in America, that every family has access to the health care that we'd want any member of our family to have. We're going to keep protecting the vulnerable. We're going to keep saving lives. We're going to develop life-saving medicines until the day comes when we have that vaccine and put this pandemic in the past. And in the midst of all of it, we are opening up America again. It's amazing to think, in the last 5 months, after losing 22 million jobs at the height of this pandemic, it's a testament to the foundation that we poured in those first 3 years, a testament to the unprecedented relief and recovery support that the congressman and the senator provided to families and to small businesses, and is a testament to the resilience and strength of the American people. We've already seen 11.5 million Americans go back to work, including 170,000 right here in the Grand Canyon state. Arizona's unemployment rate has been cut in half, and an Arizona comeback and an America comeback is underway. And let me just give credit where credit is due. I have to tell you, I called him one of the best in America at the start, but the progress you made all this year through this challenging time, the progress this summer during the outbreak, the progress that we'll all make until we put this in the past, is a credit to the compassionate and steady leadership of Governor Doug Ducey. Governor, thank you. Thank you for your strong leadership. But working with your governor, we're opening up America again, and the Arizona economy is roaring back. That's why you all deserve to know that Joe Biden is talking about shutting down our economy again. And the headlines yesterday told how several European countries are already starting to shut down. So you can bet that Joe Biden will lock down the American economy if he makes it to the White House. Your schools will be closed. Your churches, synagogues, and places of worship will be closed. Small businesses on Main Street will be shuttered again. Right at the moment that the American economy is coming back, Joe Biden said he would, quote, shut it down. But we're not going to let it happen. Right, Arizona? We're going to keep meeting this moment with American compassion and resolve. We're going to distribute the vaccine. We're going to defeat the virus. And where Joe Biden says we're in for a long, dark winter, because you know that we're soon coming to a time for choosing. And the choice in this election has never been clearer. But the stakes have never been higher. I mean, Arizona's always played an outsized role in presidential politics. And the decision the people of Arizona will make this year could be the most important decision the people of Arizona have ever made. I mean, you look at their agenda: higher taxes, open borders, socialized medicine, a Green New Deal. It's clear. Joe Biden would be nothing more than a Trojan horse for the radical left. Now, Joe Biden has said that democracy is on the ballot. Well, I think our economic recovery is on the ballot. I think law and order are on the ballot. But I also truly believe that there are things much more foundational that are on the ballot as well. In this election, I think it's not going to be whether America ends up more Republican or more Democrat, more liberal or more conservative, more red or more blue. I think the choice in this election is whether America remains America. It's whether we're going to chart a course, build on our great American heritage of faith and family and freedom and patriotism and the limited government enshrined in the Constitution of the United States, or whether we're going to let Joe Biden and the Democratic Party surrender our country to the radical left, shut down our economy, and topple our heritage of freedom and traditional values, and lead our nation on an inevitable path to socialism and American decline. So let me say, for all the ideals and values that have always made this nation exceptional and great, for the freedom that generations of Americans have defended and bequeathed to us in our time, we need to decide right here and right now that Joe Biden will never be president of the United States. We're going to re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more years. You know, you always hear people saying this is the most important election ever, but I think this might be the most important election in the life of this nation. You know, my wife's favorite poem is by Robert Frost. It says, the 2 roads diverged in a woods, and I took the road less traveled by, and it made all the difference. You know, America now, for more than 2 centuries, has taken the road less traveled by. The road of freedom, of individual responsibility, of limited government, of the belief that our freedoms are a gift from God. And we need in this election to say with one voice that we are going to chart a course on everything that's made America great. We're going to chart a course of freedom here in Arizona and for America. I don't doubt it. You know, it really is great to be with all of you today. I have a couple of things I want to ask you to do before I catch a plane to Tucson. You know, I didn't know the president that well when he called me to join this ticket 4 years ago. I mean, I'd seen him on TV, but we'd only met a couple of times. But I got to tell you, I said yes in a heartbeat when he called, because I knew he had the vision and he had the leadership qualities to bring this country back. You know, some people think we're a little bit different. But the truth is, we've become very close friends. And having served alongside this president every day for the last 4 years, I want to tell the people of Arizona this. Against unrelenting resistance, obstruction, and opposition by the Democrats in Washington, against unrelenting attacks by their allies in the national media, there has never been a day gone by that our president hasn't gotten up and fought to keep the promises that he made to the people of Arizona. Now it's our turn to fight for him. It's on, Arizona. We got 4 more days to win 4 more years. So I got a couple things I want to ask you to do. First and foremost, I checked, and you can actually do this today. First and foremost, I need you to vote, Arizona. Vote to re-elect President Donald Trump to the White House. All right? They who get the most votes win. I literally checked on the way here. You can vote early now. Karen and I voted early just the other day, back in the Hoosier State. But I'm told that today is actually the last day to vote early in person in Arizona. So after we get done here, you got plenty of time. I checked. You can go straight to the Coconino County Elections Office, Flagstaff Mall, 4650 on 89 North. It's right next to Dillard's. They're open till 7 tonight. Go vote, Arizona. Vote to re-elect President Donald Trump to the White House. And remember, friends don't let friends vote alone. Bring a family member. Bring a neighbor. And vote to re-elect our president. Vote to re-elect Senator McSally. Vote to re-elect these great congressmen. Vote victory in Arizona. Secondly, after you vote today or Tuesday with a friend, I need you to go tell somebody. Tell somebody why you feel so strongly about this president and everything we've done to bring this country back. In those first 3 years, all of the accomplishment we had, and then how this president, working with your governor, has steered us through one of the most challenging years of my lifetime. You know, I'll always believe the most powerful media in America is not your TV networks, it's not your newspapers, it's not even your social media. It's word of mouth. It's when someone who knows you and respects you hears from you about a candidate or a cause or an issue that you believe is important to them, to the state and to the nation. So I just want you to reach out. And I want you to tell them all this president's accomplished. Tell them about the choice that we face in this election. And tell them about all that we can do with 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. You know, the president and I were on 60 Minutes the other night. The president got asked a question, though. He got asked a question, and the answer of which, it may be one of my favorite answers of his of all time. Because, you know, as I've traveled around the country the last 4 years, I've gotten to meet an awful lot of folks who are part of this movement. And the reporter with 60 Minutes said to him, "How would you describe your supporters?" And he said without a moment's hesitation, "They are people who love our country." So go tell your neighbors and friends, if they love America, if they love all the ideals of America, we need 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. And finally, I would just ask you maybe to do one more thing if you're inclined. In all that remains between now and Election Day. If you're inclined to bow the head and bend the knee from time to time, I'd encourage you to do it. You know, there was a little girl at the end of the vice presidential debate who sent in a question about how she was watching TV and she was concerned because the country just seemed so divided. But I tried to tell her that I'll always believe that there's more that unites this country than could ever divide us, and chief among those things is faith. This is a nation of faith. And so if you're so inclined, I'd encourage you over the next 4 days to pray for America. And when you pray, pray with confidence in those ancient words. It's a promise, really, that Americans have clung to throughout the generations. That if his people who are called by his name will humble themselves and pray and turn, that he'll do like he's always done in the long and storied history of this country. He'll hear from heaven and he'll heal this land. This one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So pray for America. Pray for all the American people. So I want to thank you all for coming out today. You are really, and I haven't been able to watch them, but this crowd behind me is just amazing too. And all of you who are here and all of you that couldn't be here, let me just say, I leave here today on to Tucson with renewed confidence that come November 3rd, we're going to deliver a great victory all across Arizona and all across America. And with Senator Martha McSally in a renewed Republican majority in the United States Senate, with Congressman Paul Gosar, Congressman Mark Wayne Mullen, and Tiffany Shedd in a new Republican majority in the House of Representatives. And with President Donald Trump back in the White House for 4 more years, and with God's help, we're going to make America great again. Again. Thank you all very much. God bless you. God bless America. Now let's go get it done, Arizona.
You're watching News Now from Fox. That was Vice President Mike Pence at a campaign rally out there in Flagstaff, Arizona. You see McSally right there next to him waving to the crowd of people. It's a big race coming up for Arizona. McSally will be going up against Mark Kelly, but she has been side by side with not only Pence but also President Trump. Just this past week, as both Joe Biden and President Trump really make an appearance in Arizona, Arizona being one of those big battleground states that is up for grabs right now. You're watching News Now from Fox. I'm Daytona Everett. We are just 4 days out from the election. You heard Mike Pence right there. 4 more days, 4 more years. We're probably going to hear that a few more times today as they have several more appearances. We are just starting out right now. Some of you are going to go to a quick commercial break. For those of you who are sticking around, we're going to take you out to Kamala Harris's event in Fort Worth, Texas. She was speaking to voters out there. You heard Mike Pence right there in Arizona. It's the final day for early voting out here in Arizona. Early voting still going on in Texas too. So really trying to bring in those last-minute voters on both sides of the aisle. Again, you're watching News Now from Fox. I'm Daytona Everett.
Can we please hear it for Rebecca Acuna? She is phenomenal. You know, when I look at Rebecca, I know our future is bright. I know our future as a country is bright. She is extraordinary. She has been a leader in this campaign. She is someone who walks and talks with confidence, having life experiences and knowing when she walks in that room, yes, sister, sometimes we may be the only one that looks like us walking in that room, having had the experiences that we've had, but the thing we all know is we never walk in those rooms alone. We are all in that room together. So proud of you. How's everybody doing? It's so good to see you, Texas. Bernice, it is so good to see you. I want to first acknowledge all the leaders. Everybody here is a leader. Bishop Spears. Where's Bishop Spears? There. Hello, Bishop. Thank you for welcoming us in such a warm way. Thank you, Bishop. Dee Dee McGuire, I talked to her earlier. Where is she? Hi, Dee Dee. Thank you. Thank you for your show and your voice. Fred Heyman and Marvin Sapp, where are they? Oh, my God, I felt like I was a good revival. There we are. Thank you both for just the gift that you have and that you keep sharing and giving. Thank you. Eddie Bernice Johnson, the great Congresswoman. And Mark Vesey, we are on his home turf. Thank you for letting me be here. And Colin Allred, where is he? And Colin Allred. And we are all colleagues in the United States Congress. We are also members of the Congressional Black Caucus. And I will tell you, Texas, you are so well represented in the United States Congress with these three. And they're always in these rooms. And, you know, I see them in the rooms where the cameras are and where the cameras are not. And they are always fighting for the people of Texas. They are leaders for Texas, and they are national leaders. And they represent the voice of all people so well. So thank you all. Thank you, thank you. So listen. Today is the last day of early voting in Texas, and you all have been doing your thing. What did I hear? Was it 9 million people have voted so far? Early voting in Texas, 9 million? Now, we know this is no time to let up on the pedal, though, right? So I know people sent me pictures of standing in line at midnight this morning, I guess, last night, waiting to vote. There was a line. People are committed. And so today is the last day of early voting in Texas. We want to make sure we see it through. And then let's make sure on Election Day, everybody we know has made sure that their voice, their powerful voice, is represented in this election through their vote. Because there is so much at stake and so many reasons to vote. You know, just think about it. Right now in our country, we are in the middle of at least 4 obvious crises, right? There's the crisis that is a public health crisis that has caused over 215, I think now over 220,000 people to die in just the last several months. And the tragedy of it is so many, because of the nature of this pandemic, spent their last hours on earth without even the benefit of holding the hand and touching someone they love. Maybe communicating through a video, but without the warmth of the family around them. 8.5 million, almost 9 million people have contracted this virus with untold long-term consequences. You know, doctors are talking about things like lung scarring. It will, by the way, at this point, most likely qualify as a pre-existing condition, which means on top of the numbers that we know, the disproportionate numbers in terms of African Americans and Latinos for high blood pressure and diabetes, we're now looking at this. Let's look at the racial disparities on this virus. African Americans and Latinos are 3 times as likely to contract the disease and twice as likely to die from it. the tragedy of the loss of human life. You know, I've been referring to this as one of the greatest mass casualty events that we've experienced since World War II. The tragedy of it. And here's why I bring it up, guys. It didn't have to be this bad. It didn't have to be this bad. Just think about it. Thanks to a fellow by the name of Bob Woodward, we know that the President of the United States was informed back on January 28th about the seriousness of this virus. Informed that it is 5 times as likely to kill people as the flu. Was informed that it would hurt people of every age. Was informed that it is airborne. And he sat on that information. He called it a hoax. He suggested that on his ledger of who people are, you're on one side of his ledger if you wear a mask, you're on the other side of his ledger if you don't. And can you imagine, as parents, as teachers, as small business owners, what you might have done if on January 28th you had known what the President of the United States had known? What you might have done to prepare, knowing that even before this pandemic, far too many Americans were working 2 and 3 jobs to try and pay the rent and put food on the table. And by the way, in Joe Biden and my America, nobody should work more than 1 job to have to put food on the table and pay the rent. But what folks might have done to prepare, knowing that most working families don't have even $1,000 in savings. What people might have done to prepare, small business owners, workers. Because you see, still, even before this pandemic, which has been highlighted, we have a country that has not made it a national priority for working people to have paid sick leave and paid family leave. That will change in a Biden-Harris administration. But what people might have done to prepare teachers and students and parents around the fact that their children are going to miss so much of these critical days of their education. What people might have done to prepare to just simply buy a couple of extra rolls of toilet paper. But they sat on this information and they didn't tell anybody. And now we are looking at a situation where in the midst of a public health pandemic, you also have a situation where we have a president who, while we are seeing spikes around our country, talking about we've turned the corner, continuing to mislead the American people. So there are clear choices in this election. Because on the one hand, you have Joe Biden, who together with President Barack Obama created Obamacare, which brought health care to over 20 million people and protected people with pre-existing conditions and understood that health care and access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. Joe Biden, who says we will expand on the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, we will extend protections, we will bring down the cost of prescription drugs, we will bring down the cost of premiums, we will lower Medicare eligibility to age 60, we will expand health care, understanding the body doesn't just start from the neck down, it includes the neck up, and we need to expand mental health care. Clear choices. Because you see, on the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who together with his boy, Bill Barr, are in the United States Supreme Court right now trying to sue to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which again brought health care to so many people. Here in Texas, we're looking at 10 million Texans who have pre-existing conditions. If they are successful with that lawsuit, all of the folks who have over 20 million people are likely to lose their protections. And we now have almost 9 million people who have new pre-existing conditions called COVID. There are clear choices in this election. Because of this pandemic, the worsening of the wealth gap in America has been such that over 30 million people in just the last several months had to file for unemployment insurance. We are seeing numbers that tell us 1 in 5 mothers who has a child under the age of 12 is describing her children as being hungry. Here in Texas, we're looking at the numbers that tell us that 1 in 8 households is describing their household as having been hungry. We're in the middle of a hunger crisis in America. They're not covering it enough. We're in the middle of a hunger crisis. Here in Texas, 1 in 6 households has described not being able to pay their rent or being concerned that they cannot pay their rent next month. Here in Texas, 1 in 4 small businesses has gone out of business. And let's be clear, across America, almost 50% of the workforce either owns a small business or runs a small business. We are looking at an economic devastation that is being compared to the Great Depression. And on the one hand, you have Joe Biden, who says, you want to ask me about the economy and how it's doing, then you need to tell me how working people are doing. How are families doing in America? Which is why Joe Biden is committed to not raising taxes ever on anyone making less than $400,000 a year, lowering middle-class taxes, also making sure that no working family pays more than 7% of your income in child care, making sure there's a $15,000 tax credit for first-time home buyers, understanding that is the way that we have intergenerational wealth in America, is to allow people to own a home. That's how Joe Biden thinks of the economy. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who, when asked, how's the economy doing, he will ask, well, how's the stock market doing? He asks, how are rich people doing? As one of his first orders of business, he passed a tax code benefiting the top 1% and the biggest corporations in America. Well, let me tell you, Joe Biden and I, if we win, are about to get rid of that and invest that money in working people in America. Invest that money in building back up our infrastructure, our roads and our bridges and renewable energy, creating millions of jobs. Investing that money in making sure that our students coming from families that make less than $125,000 go to public universities tuition free, including HBCUs, including private HBCUs. Ensuring that our students, when they graduate, if they take on a life of service and public service and a job that pays less than $125,000, that their debt will be erased. That's how we'll invest that money, in the American people. Crises. We are facing a long overdue reckoning on the issue of racial injustice in America. And there are clear choices. On the one hand, you have Joe Biden, who is a student of American history and has the courage to speak the phrase, Black Lives Matter. A Joe Biden who understands that we need to deal with these racial disparities. We need to acknowledge them, difficult though they may be, to think about, much less talk about. We need to address it in terms of what we're doing around health care. We need to address it in terms of the racial wealth gap. We need to address it in terms of the gaps in our education system. Joe Biden says, let's deal with it by putting $150 billion into low-interest loans for minority businesses, black and brown businesses, which tend to be the economic lifeblood of the community. Joe Biden says, let's deal with it in terms of a criminal justice system that must be held accountable for those disparities. Let's get rid of mandatory minimums. Let us decriminalize marijuana and expunge the record of the people who have been convicted for marijuana offenses. Let's shut down the private prisons. Let's get rid of cash bail, understanding people are sitting in jail for weeks, months, and years simply because they can't afford to get out, which makes it an economic justice issue as much as it is a criminal justice issue. And on the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who on a debate stage 2 debates ago refused to condemn white supremacists and then doubled down and said they should stand back and stand by. Donald Trump, because you got to understand this is a pattern, who, when running for office and even before, had the gall to question and challenge the legitimacy of America's first black president. The commander-in-chief of the United States, who, when asked about the tragedy in Charlottesville, where peaceful protesters were protesting racial injustice, and a young woman was killed. And then on the other side, there were neo-Nazis wearing swastikas, carrying tiki torches, hurling racial and anti-Semitic epithets. The commander-in-chief said there were fine people on both sides. A president of the United States who has called Mexicans rapists and criminals, who as his first order of business instituted a Muslim ban. America, we deserve better. That does not reflect who we are as our values and priorities, as a nation that knows we are our strongest when we are unified, knows that we have so much more in common, regardless of where you live, the race, your ethnicity, the language your grandmother speaks. We know we have so much more in common, and we have a choice in this election to elect a Joe Biden who says we are, as a first order of priority, going to unify our country and bring us back together as a nation who values the importance of giving each other respect and dignity. Clear choices in this election. Not to mention the other crisis we are facing, which is a climate crisis. Texas, you know that well. You look at what's going on around our country. Up and down the West Coast, you know, I'm from California, up and down the West Coast, California up to Washington, over to Colorado, wildfires that are burning out whole communities. I've met families that are being evacuated or have been evacuated, never to return to their home. Firefighters who were fighting fires while their own homes were burning. My brother-in-law's a firefighter. Tragedies. You look at the Gulf Coast states, our neighbors to Texas, being battered by these storms. There have been now 5 named storms just this year. And you know they name a storm because it's really bad. So Zeta being the last one, the most recent. In the Midwest, you're seeing floods that have caused farmers to lose a whole season of crops. Joe Biden says we need to deal with this with a sense of urgency. We must embrace the science on this. We cannot play politics on this. And we see that in this moment of opportunity to have timelines, understanding we must deal with this with a sense of urgency, that we also have the opportunity to grow our economy and create jobs. Joe sees the opportunity in the moment to invest in renewable energies, to invest in the apprenticeship programs with the folks like the building trades, knowing that we have a moment of opportunity to invest in America's auto industry and be the best in the world in production of electric vehicles. All of these are opportunities to meet a moment of crisis if you are a real leader. And on the other hand, you have the current president of the United States, who, when he was asked about the wildfires in California, so he was asked by a journalist, and the question was something like, well, you know, Mr. President, these wildfires are happening, and scientists are telling us there's a real connection, you know, between the climate, the extreme changes, and human behaviors that are contributing to that, and what do you have to say? The President of the United States, who is also, again, the Commander-in-Chief, responded, "Science doesn't know." As though science is a person. Can you believe science doesn't know? So, you know, and there's a through theme here too, because, right, that's how he's been treating the coronavirus, right? A refusal to embrace the people who are smart enough to know what is actually going on and give us some direction around how we need to deal with it, instead of trying to make everybody think everything's okay, as though people aren't smart enough to see what is happening around them. So all these things are at play, and so much more. And that brings me to this moment, where we are today. I'm here in Texas to thank you for all you have been doing to speak up about these challenges and to remind people to vote here on the last day of early voting, 4 days before the end of the election. And I'm here to talk about it in the context of also understanding that there's a lot that we need to get done, and there are a lot of reasons for folks to vote. And, you know, people ask me a lot, why should I vote? Does it matter? And I think there are 3 reasons that it is important that people vote. One is to honor the ancestors. Honor the ancestors. I mean, you know, Bernice, Mark, we all know we lost an incredible American human, just a hero, in Congressman John Lewis. Just a hero. He is now among the ancestors. John Lewis, who shed his blood on that Edmund Pettus Bridge. John Lewis, who said to us, "Get in good trouble." John Lewis, who lived a life that was about a commitment to fighting for equal rights and civil rights. And it was a fight that was born out of being a patriot and loving our country, knowing the best way we achieve our ideals is to fight for those ideals, to do it in every way by standing up, showing up, and speaking up. So we must vote to honor the ancestors. This year, we celebrated the 19th Amendment, the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment. The ancestors, the suffragettes, who those 100 years ago, in all of their white, were marching and shouting for a woman's right to vote, saying, "We will not be deterred, we will not be left behind." Now, let us remember, because we always must speak truth about history, that black women couldn't vote until 1965. So we have to remember that. But yes, it is important to honor those who fought for this precious right, understanding that, like Coretta Scott King told us, the fight for civil rights, for equal rights, for human rights, this fight for justice must be fought and won with each generation. And what she meant is it is precious, these rights, but you cannot take them for granted. We must be vigilant. So we vote to honor the ancestors. We vote because everything is at stake. Everything is at stake. Like, let's think about where we are. We talked about it in terms of these crises. I mean, let's talk about it in terms of these 545 babies who right now have been orphaned because of a failure of the United States government to reunify them with their parents. Let's talk about a nation under this administration that had a policy of separating children from their parents at the border. A nation that broke its promise to the dreamers in terms of not following through on a commitment around DACA protections. There are so many things at stake. So that is a reason to vote. And the third reason is this. So I'm traveling the country, and I've been to, in the last week and a half, in fact, I'm going back to Florida tomorrow, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Michigan, I mean, you just name it, okay? And one of the things that we have been seeing, certainly since 2013, before for sure, but since 2013 when the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act, as we've been seeing as many as 24 states putting in place laws through their state legislature that have been designed to suppress the vote, have been designed to make it difficult for people to vote, have been done in such a way, you've seen that in Texas where they're trying to remove the drop boxes, where they're trying to reduce the number of polls, where they're saying if you vote from home, you need to fill out 2 envelopes. I mean, all kinds of things, right? Leaders who are trying to make it difficult and confusing and to suggest you can't trust the process. In fact, at that first debate, the President of the United States took that stage in front of 70 million Americans and, in my opinion, openly encouraged a suppression of the vote. Not to mention what he's doing and what they're doing to mess with the post office. The post office. The best